Today I am live on YouTube. I'm going to be answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. First, I will be speaking on energetic sovereignty, and then I'll be answering the questions. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you guys would like your own natal chart reading or progress natal chart reading or synastry reading or mini natal chart reading, the information for all of that is going to be in the description box below. You guys can go on my website, select the readings tab. You guys can select which reading you would like, and then an email window should pop up, and then you guys can send me an email and we'll go from there. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? What is new? What's the 411? Today I'm going to be speaking about energetic sovereignty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you guys doing? What's new? What's the 411? Hey, concerned. How are you guys doing? Okay, so quickly, I wanted to cover energetic sovereignty. Thank you guys so much for the likes. Welcome to everyone who's joining the live. If you guys have any questions about astrology, metaphysics, or even the topic at hand, feel free to comment, and then I will answer the questions after I am done. So let's go ahead and jump into energetic sovereignty. Oh, I like that. Yes, group astral. Okay, what I need to do is, yes, I need to gather all of the names and then I will do a poll because there's quite a few. So I think on the poll, on the community tab, I think there's only like a limited amount of options. So I'll pick whatever the amount of options is there. Hey, Anita, how are you guys doing? Okay, so if you guys have astrology questions, feel free to comment below. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on energetic sovereignty. So really quickly, today I wanted to cover energetic sovereignty. Hey, Stu loves astrology. How are you doing? If you guys have any questions about astrology, metaphysics, your natal charts, feel free to comment below. I will get to them shortly. Okay, so in terms of energetic sovereignty, the way that I see it, this is my own opinion, and as usual, you guys can take what resonates, leave behind what does not. My disclaimers are, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a medical practitioner. So yes, these are just my own observations from just existing here, down here on this earth plane. So in terms of energetic sovereignty, if we look at the whole reincarnation loop, and I have a few videos on this, I have some lives where I spoke on the reincarnation loop, and then also I have a video under my metaphysical playlist in terms of my opinion so far, how to get out of the reincarnation loop, because at this point in time, it really feels like a lot of recycling of energies, okay? So one of the things in this whole story is energetic sovereignty. So basically, energetic sovereignty is you trying to not get energetically bound by anything while you are down here. That's kind of a struggle because everything is created to energetically bind you to things. And it's so interesting because one time, long time ago, I actually heard from somebody else, and they were basically saying how anytime you sign a contract, you are giving your power away. And it's really interesting because if you think about it, it makes sense because you sign the contract and then you're basically saying, I'm going to agree to the terms and conditions for the other person. So whatever that contract might be, let's say it is a job, for example, that's the easiest type of contract, but it could be anything. And unfortunately, the world that we live in, yes, these contracts are necessary, okay? That's still there. But if we look at it as a concept, like as an idea in terms of you sign it and now you're giving your power away, well, in that particular case, you can't really, come to your job whenever you want. For example, hey, Mary, how are you doing? You have to listen, right? You have to listen to the rules. You have to listen to, the guidelines, whatever, right? So that's for absolutely everything. That's just one example that I'm sure everybody can relate to, but you have contracts in every realm, right? So if you guys just look at it as an overall idea, right? A lot of the way this whole structure is set up, in my own opinion, is to constantly give your power away to another person, to another institution, to a place, to whatever, right? Giving your power away, you get energetically bound, okay? Because let's say even you sign a lease, right? Let's say you sign a lease to live somewhere. And in that particular case, it depends on the lease. Maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 1 year. It's like you are now giving your power away. You are now energetically reserving yourself for that block of time. And I understand sometimes people who maybe are more Saturnian or Capricornian, or even like the earth signs, they might look for that type of stability in their lives. But it's like when I think about it in terms of the way, just like energetically, the way that the soul is, it's all very restricting. Everything down here is very energetically restricting and energetically binding you to something or to somebody, right? So ultimately, the way that I see it is that you want to get out of the game without having been energetically bound to any particular thing. Now, the thing is, again, Some of these things are going to be necessary for survival, as long as you yourself feel like, right, in that moment that you are making the choice that you want for yourself. That's the way that I see it in terms of energetic sovereignty. So it's going to be important to get in tune with the heart space, because the heart space is going to be in tune with the intuition. And then when you're in tune with your intuition, well, in that particular case, you're going to be led by your intuition. So let's say you do get into one of these situations, you do choose a job, or you do sign something that's, 1 year, whatever it is, okay, at least you will have known that it's something that you wanted to do versus in a way your free will being manipulated. I really, really hope that that makes sense, okay? So that's part of energetic sovereignty. Now, another part of this story, and this is something that has been very popular in like the last maybe 1 to 2 years, especially online, there's been a lot of content, especially when it comes to finances, okay? So if you live in a country where you can make your own money, you probably should learn how to be financially independent, right? Doesn't mean you can't be in a partnership with another person, but once again, right, if you are in a situation where you are financially dependent on someone, it's kind of like signing that contract. You are now giving your power away to this person for that person to dangle that in front of you and to be like, okay, well, if you don't listen, or if you don't listen to me, or if you don't do this, or if you don't do that, you're not going to get this amount of money, or you're not going to get whatever, the allowance, like however it might manifest into the situation, right? So if you live in a country where you are able to have your own money, it's gonna probably be very beneficial to learn, okay, about money. How does money work? What is money? All these things, okay? What is money? Investing, all of these wonderful things, okay? It doesn't take too much time, a lot of content, especially now, is free online. It's just a matter of sitting down and learning these things so you can be energetically sovereign, right? So this is what I mean. It's a vibrational thing. If you have an agreement with someone and you guys are like, it works for you, that's a different story, right? I'm talking about like the way that it feels energetically when your power is being taken away from you, aka your sovereignty, aka your free will. The way that it feels, it pulls you down into your solar plexus chakra. That's the way that it feels. I can't explain it any other way, okay? It's like something is pulling at you at your solar plexus chakra because you are quote unquote giving your power away. You are no longer living for yourself. You are now living for, again, this other individual, the institution, whoever, okay? And it's so covert and it's so tricky and it's so behind the scenes, right? Like you might not notice it, you might not pick up on it, especially again, all these things are being fed to everybody constantly, especially like with social media and all these types of things, okay? So that's another thing here too, okay? So it's also financial sovereignty is connected to also being energetically sovereign. If you live somewhere where you are able to be financially independent, okay, and sovereign energetically, okay? That's the way that I see it. And then in every circumstance, trying to, listen to your heart space more compared to maybe what somebody else wants for you, or whether it's a partner or whether it is your lover or whoever, okay? These types of things, whether it's family, where they're kind of pulling you in a direction, right, that maybe you don't want to go, okay? And again, in that case where it's like you're not living for yourself, you are now living for another person. And this is how you will see, like, this is how people kind of develop almost like this, like, split within the self. I speak on this even in like my soul fragments video, a lot of my metaphysical videos, I've touched on this, okay? Basically where it's like sometimes an aspect of the self wants to please people around them, whether it's the family, whether again, it's your partner, whoever, your friends, society, okay? So there's that part of you that's doing that. And then there's the other part of you is kind of like living a double life. Like that's how people end up in these situations because they're not integrated is really what that is, okay? They're not living for the self and then they're living for another person and then they go do what they want anyways on the side, and then you're fragmented energetically, and then you're building these like karmic webs and these karmic loops with these other people, okay? So I hope that makes sense. So energetic sovereignty is really important, okay? And to become energetically sovereign, you have to get in tune with the self, you have to get in tune with the heart space, you have to get in tune with your likes, wants, needs, and desires. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do down here? And then everything else kind of aligns for you that's on that frequency. Do you know what I mean? Versus being in kind of like a powerless frequency, always looking to be led, always looking for a savior. That's kind of like a collective wound within the collective. Do you know what I mean? Always thinking somebody else is going to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's always been like that. That's why the collective is where they are at right now. You know what I mean? So it's basically this, okay? And then let's see, concerned here you said, so that's exactly what a capitalistic employment relationship is. We sit in a cubicle or office and give away our karmic energy. Exactly. But here's the thing, right? You can leave that and then you can work for yourself, right? Like that is another type of sovereignty is if you choose to work for yourself, but you still have to sit down. If you're going to work for yourself, then you have to create your own structure. You have to have the discipline. You have to figure all of that out. Do you know what I mean? Like for yourself. Hey, Esperanza, how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? I'm just speaking on energetic sovereignty. I'm coming toward the end of that. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. And then I'm going to be answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, and questions about your natal charts. So it's basically this. So then it's like you have people who then want to work for themselves, but it's like, okay, maybe they don't know where to start, which is fine. You know, maybe getting a mentor, or maybe getting someone who could assist you in your journey. But it's like the way that I see it too is like people could struggle maybe to create, let's say, their own structure for themselves, or they could be lazy, or they might want somebody else to do it. And then they end up, let's say, working in a structured job, because at the end of the day, you still need the finances to live, okay? You know, the spiritually bypassing people are just going to talk about money is this and money doesn't matter, but it's a material plane. Do you know what I mean? It is a material plane. It just is what it is at the end of the day, right? It's a material plane. Maybe now we're like in the extreme version of it, right? Where it's maybe too material, but it's still material. At this point in time, when I am recording this, which is January 2025, right? So it still is a material plane. So it's like for you to work with the energies down here, you're going to have to then, let's say you do want to work for yourself and you want sovereignty in that way, well, then you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to make a plan, and you might have to work more and you might have to work harder, let's say compared to working a job where it's like you clock in at 9, you clock out at 5, and you don't think about it anymore. Do you know what I mean? Especially in the beginning. So it's this. And then there's a lot of people who are always kind of like selling a dream, right? And a lot of those people are being exposed right now, and they will be in the years to come. Basically, because again, they're going to sell you a dream. It's always kind of like get rich quick, or buy this course, or, you know, the people who are like, oh, I made $1,000 a week doing this. You know what I mean? Like these types of things. Like anything you start, you're starting at zero. Okay. Unless again, you have some sort of, you know, situation where you were born into it, or again, it's around you, or do you know what I mean? Right. But if you are, let's say, the everyday person and you're not born into these situations and these circumstances, well, then you're starting at zero, really. Right. So if you're starting at zero, it's like you have to sit down and then you have to develop certain skills. And I think that that's where a lot of people maybe also have the disconnect, or they struggle, or then they like, again, you know, it depends also on your chart, right? Let's say you're someone who's more crowny, right? You go more into the crown chakra. If you have too much free time and your day's not structured, you could really struggle with the structure, right? So some people operate better when they are in a situation, right, where it is structured for them. But then let's say you don't like that, well, then you have to work on that for yourself and create the structure for yourself. Like, I hope that makes sense, okay? So it's like energetic sovereignty, like I believe everybody could achieve it. It's just like people might have to work on certain aspects within the self, right? It might come naturally to some people, and you'll see this in natal charts, right? But it's like it might come naturally to you maybe in one part of your life or one area, right? But then maybe in another area it might not, right? So a lot of it is connected to coming into your power, coming into your person, coming into trusting the self, right? And again, you know, if you look at the way the structure is, it's always like future, like thinking. Do you know what I mean? It's always like waiting for the next thing, or, you know, you achieve something and then you make the next goal. Do you know what I mean? It's always kind of like future oriented versus like living in the moment. Like everything is backwards, okay? Is really what that is, in my own opinion. In my own opinion, I always got to say that, okay? That's basically what it is. So it's like, it's hard to deprogram yourself out of that. And like when you're trying to leave and like, you know, come out of that way of thinking and being, you might have anxiety, right? Because you're now entering the unknown, and then maybe you'll go back, and then maybe you'll leave again. Do you know what I mean? So there could be like this ping pong situation taking place until officially you kind of develop that within. And again, the way that I just psychically see it, it's connected to the solar plexus chakra is really what that is at the end of the day, because it comes back down to the trust in the self. And then the solar plexus chakra is like your personal power as well, right? So like from birth, the way that the energetic structure is, okay, energetic structure that we're living under, it's all about giving your power away, okay? From like day one, you're giving your power away to someone, and it just is the way that it is. So it's like trying to reclaim your power. Like there could be a lot of work that needs to be done around that, basically, okay? So that's basically that in terms of energetic sovereignty. I'm going to look and see what are you guys saying in here. Welcome everyone. How are you guys doing? So I'm going to be answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts, all of the things. So whatever you guys want to talk about, let me know. I don't do Vedic astrology. I do the Placidus tropical system. You said, how do you develop your mediumship skills? Okay, that is a really, really good question. So, okay. So if you think you have mediumship abilities, which you might, right, if you're asking that question, this is the way that I see it. I have a video on here. Actually, I have a few videos in terms of how to develop your psychic gifts and abilities overall. I personally think that everybody is psychic. Everybody is intuitive at least, right? So it's like everybody has a gut instinct. So it's a matter of, you know, figuring out how to work on that, right? And this is interesting because it kind of ties into what I was just saying, right? In terms of the way that most people are brought up, right? You getting in tune with your intuition is opposite to that, right? Because the intuitive aspect of things might not make sense. It's not going to be linear, right? Because the way, again, that the energetic structure is right now, right? It's like you have to do this, you have to do A and then B and then C to get to wherever it is that you're trying to go, right? But like, let's say you're living through your intuition. Well, maybe you're gonna do A and then maybe you're gonna do Z, for example, and then you'll go to B and you'll go back to Z. Do you know what I mean? It's not linear. It is not a linear way of being or thinking. So it's like, it sounds very quiet in the beginning, the intuitive muscle. Do you know what I mean? It's there, but a lot of people don't listen to it, okay? And that's the whole thing here. And this is what like it's connected to in terms of the programming as well, right? Because it's like the programming is really strong, whether it is against societal, whether it is generational, whether it is where you live, like however it manifests, right? There's like a certain way that's expected for you to be, if you think about it, right? And then it's like you might have the intuitive muscle within you being like, okay, we'll do this other thing, right? And it's kind of like a heart versus ego, right? Situation, or like heart versus mind. Like the heart to me is connected to the intuition, and then the ego to me is kind of connected to the mind, right? So like, for example, you know, let's say you have an intuitive nudge and it's so silent in the beginning, right? Where it's like, let's say it's raining today and it's like pouring and it's like raining, for example, and like the intuitive nudge is like, oh, go to the store. And then the logical mind and the ego, because the ego is trying to keep you feeling safe, right? So it's always gonna pick the comfort zone, right? But nothing happens in the comfort zone, and that's how people build resentment, and you know, that's how people just get energetically stagnant, right? If you're always in your comfort zone. So for example, you know, in the beginning, the intuitive nudge can kind of be like, okay, well, you know, go to the store, right? It's going to be like so subtle. Okay. And let's say you do listen to it, even though the logical mind might be like, well, it's so nice inside. It's so warm. It's so warm. Okay. In the house. Or it's like, it's really raining right now. Like, I don't want to get wet from the rain. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all going to be like the mind / the ego, okay? Trying to convince you not to do that thing, but you're really feeling pulled to go to the store, right? So like, let's say you listen to your intuition in that moment. You're like, you know what? I'm going to go get some fresh air. I'm going to walk to the store, okay? You go, let's say you meet someone, okay? And let's say that person that you meet connects you to another person. And let's say that person maybe has an opportunity for you. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's just like a different way of living. So that's the intuitive aspect of things, right? So I think that everyone has some form of intuition. Like, there is always some form of intuition going on, right? Because it's like a survival thing. It's like the gut instinct, okay? So that's going on. And then you can develop that into psychic gifts and abilities. You have to see, you know, where are you in terms of your strengths, right? Because like, let's say you're someone who's very visual. Well, if you're very visual, then you might be clairvoyant. Okay, let's say you are someone who thinks a lot. Why is it like that? Why did that happen? Then you might be claircognizant, right? So that's kind of how you can develop these psychic gifts and abilities. Let's say you're someone who is a feeler, right? Then you might be clairsentient. So your question was about mediumship. So for example, you know, the way that I see that trajectory is like you already have heightened clairsentience, okay? So it's like everyone who is a human being are sentient, right? You are in tune with the feeling aspect of things, okay? Clairsentience is when you are able to feel other people's feelings and other people's emotions, okay? So then you have clairsentience. Then you have the elevated version of that where it's like an empath is someone who is clairsentient. This is the way that I see it, by the way. Maybe other people have a different explanation. This is how I see it, okay? An empath is someone who is actually meant to transmute energy, okay? So you have kind of like the heightened ability of clairsentience, but at the same time, a lot of the time you'll see empaths kind of absorb the energy around them, and most of the time it happens when you're not aware. So this is why awareness is also important, because that could also be draining you of your life force energy, okay? Because you don't always have to be absorbing for everybody around you, do you know what I mean? But that's basically what an empath is. The empath comes through, they absorb, okay, and they actually transmute, okay? So the way that I always psychically see it in terms of the empath, right, is like the energy enters the vessel, it comes through the solar plexus, okay? It kind of, the way that I see it psychically is kind of like a washing machine, okay? It comes through the solar plexus, it kind of gets transmuted in there, okay? And then it gets, you know, put out there into the world in a more positive, high vibrational energy. That's what the empath is doing, okay? Whether they're aware of it or whether they're not aware of it, okay? That's what an empath is. And a lot of the time you will see empaths in dark, maybe they live in like dark, let's say areas, intense areas. Maybe you happen to walk through a situation, right, where a fight had just ended or something intense. Do you know what I mean? Like that's usually an empath. Like they're kind of sent around to neutralize energy, okay? That's an empath. And then you have mediumship, okay? So mediumship is clairsentience, kind of like even more amplified. That's the way that I see it, okay? So it's like you're already able to feel into things, okay? But then at the same time, you are now connecting to the other side. So when you are working with mediumship, you're actually, first of all, communicating through your mind, okay? So there's, I guess, an element of claircognizance in there as well, okay? You're gonna be communicating telepathically with whoever it is that you are connecting to on the other side, right? And it depends. Some people are clairvoyant, right? So like there's people who are clairvoyant who actually see people in the physical like experience, right? I think I told you guys once, like that person that I met a while back when I was teaching in person, they basically told me that they were able to see spirits that were trapped between dimensions, and they're able to physically see them, right? Like they knew they weren't there, but they're able to see them like in the physical realm, right? Then you have clairvoyance, where you see the person through your mind's eye, or you get the visions through your mind's eye, right? You kind of see it through your mind's eye. So it depends, right? It's different types of gifts and abilities, okay? So in that particular case, like that person who was able to see the people who were stuck between dimensions, basically they had the gift to help people cross like between dimensions, right? So that's the thing here. And, you know, it was up to them if they want to exercise that or not. They didn't want to at that time. I don't know if they are now. That was so many years ago. Okay. But yeah, so different people have different abilities, but that's basically what it is. So mediumship is, again, any sort of psychic gift and ability, you're kind of going into a different part of the brain. Like you kind of want to elevate your energy also, okay? Because that's another thing too. If you're communicating with anybody who is on the other side, like they're in a higher vibration, then we are down here, okay? So you have to elevate your vibration, okay? And I'm sure you guys have heard that a lot, especially in the new age, kind of like a slogan, okay? But it really comes back down to that. And that's how any information comes through, is when you raise your vibration, okay? So how can you raise your vibration? It could be through eating, like what you eat, maybe eating clean, for example. Let's say it can be through, you know, going to the gym, exercising, doing something that you love, for example. All these things can elevate your frequency, okay? And then when you're in the heightened vibration, okay, you get used to it, right? You get used to seeing what it feels like to be there, okay? And then you're able to basically grab the information out of the astral / ether. You said, thank you. You said you were told by a psychic, and you know you do. She told you the same thing to move the ego side. Exactly, that you are very gifted. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. You want to, and that's the thing, like that's in terms of like that switch, right? Because like when you're operating out of the ego, you can't really go into the psychic realms, because you have to look at it like through the chakras, okay? This is how I see it, okay? And I know we have more chakras within the body, but if we look at just the 7 as the basis of it all, you have the root, you have the sacral, you have the solar plexus, okay? Most people within the collective are operating out of those chakras, okay? And because they're operating out of the chakras, that's why they're so easy to control by, you know, the people who are in the higher up positions, allegedly, in my opinion, okay? So like anytime anybody brings something through, let's say connected to the fear of death, boom, the root chakra gets triggered, everybody goes into fear and they go into hiding, okay? Anytime there's anything that comes through when it comes to like a scarcity of something, let's say, you know, we're not going to have any more, whatever it is, in the stores, I'm sure you guys catch my drift, boom, okay? You know, people get pulled into their root chakra, then they're fighting over these things, okay? In the stores, where it's like, if you weren't pulled into your root chakra and you were thinking logically, you would have just, let's say, waited to see what would have happened, kind of thing, okay? So it's this. So it's basically this. So it depends where you're vibrating at, okay? In terms of your chakras, okay? It depends where you're vibrating at. So it depends on like your permanent vibrational frequency. Like if you are super, let's say also in the shadow of the sacral, right? And then you're easily distracted by sexual things and lust and all these things, well, then you're operating out of the sacral chakra, right? You're being pulled down. If you're operating out of the solar plexus and you're in your ego, well, in that particular case, again, you are being pulled down. Like you're being pulled down energetically. That's the only way that I can explain it. So you want to get to the heart space. You want to get to the heart frequency, essentially, right? Where it's like the ego is there, but you're able to quiet it, right? So it's not interfering. Because that's why sometimes you have people who have like biases, right? And I'm sure we saw that last year when a lot of people were making a lot of predictions about certain things that were going to go down around November. I'm speaking between the lines, right? And a lot of people were wrong because a lot of people put in their personal biases in their predictions, okay? So when you are making predictions, you can't put your own personal biases in what it is that you're predicting, right? So it's really interesting to see, like, especially when you become an observer and you're observing people like coming to certain conclusions, because you can see when someone is coming from their ego and they are trying to basically like make a prediction, but like it's being filtered through the ego, essentially, is what that is. So yes, that person who told you that was basically on point. You basically have to figure out how to quiet the ego down, go more into the heart space, so you're basically getting information that is more energetically clear. I hope that makes sense, okay? It doesn't have bias connected to it, and that's going to be connected to healing, right? So this is why you have different types of psychics, right? Like you have psychics who are maybe more day-to-day types of psychics who maybe are operating out of, let's say, lower energies, right? But it's like they resonate with people who are at that vibration. I hope that makes sense, okay? Hey, Asafor, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. So yeah, so I have a video, actually a few videos where I outline this in more detail, okay, if you're interested in learning even more. And it's interesting, a lot of it is actually connected to the theological text. Like I believe that the original roots, like the spiritual roots, okay, the spiritual roots of the theological text, okay, we're trying to teach people enlightenment. That's the way that I see it, okay? Everything got lost in translation, in my opinion. It got lost in the material, and it got lost looking at things through the shadow masculine lens, essentially, okay? You said animalistic urges, lower chakras. That's exactly what it is. And then you said, you say that, but you swear you can have conversation like exchange with animals. Honestly, sometimes animals are like more energetically pure. You said also you've been wrong about your natal. You said 2 different 12th house, 29 degrees, Sun and Pluto. What's going on with your natal chart? Okay, I'm back. You said you pick up on visions from strangers, and then you said you don't have to be in a good mood at all to be a psychic medium. It doesn't have to do with your mood. It has to do with your frequency and like the type of information that you're picking up on, okay? So everybody, when they're starting out, like they might pick up on like day-to-day information. Okay, for example, let me give you guys this example, okay? When I was getting, so I was always super intuitive, okay? And it was so interesting. I used to have a friend back in the day, like before I started exercising it and like getting more in tune with it, right? My friend would be like, oh my gosh, things that Barbara says, like that, like things that roll off my tongue end up coming true, right? So that's kind of like a form of channeling without realizing that you're channeling, right? So sometimes you have people's higher selves pulling through, like let's say they're more day-to-day people. Sometimes you have their higher selves pulling through, right? And saying something that's actually kind of like a channeled message without them realizing, right? So that's kind of like maybe the everyday type of person, right? And then when I got into Reiki and I was doing that for a period of time, you know, first I was doing it on friends and family and so on and so forth. But then when I actually started doing the practice and I was working out of a wellness center, and that was only for a brief period of time, I don't do any of that anymore. But when I did, which was interesting, what I learned during that period of time was the energy exchange. And it's always an energy exchange, you guys, between you and the other person, no matter what it is that you're doing. There's always some sort of energy exchange taking place, okay? So it's so interesting because one of the first clients that I had when we just had opened up that like space, like the wellness space, like where I used to work, basically one of the first clients, you know, it was so interesting because when I was going above the client's solar plexus, I kept getting, you know, the word marriage, right? Like that kept coming through. Hey T, how are you doing? Welcome you guys. So I kept getting the word marriage. And see, this is how the solar plexus for yourself and your throat chakra are connected. Because I was like, should I say something? Should I not say something? Because I'm still like technically practicing, right? So it was interesting because then I said to the client that was there, and these were like mini sessions just like in the beginning. And I said to the client, I was like, oh, you know, like when I was at your solar plexus chakra, like I got, you know, the word marriage. And then that client basically said to me that they, you know, were looking for marriage, or they were looking to find someone, and it was like really stressing them out and so on and so forth, okay? So this is what I mean, like this is the energy exchange, right? Because then that person confirmed for me that the information that had come through was on point, right? And then that's how you build, right? So that's what it is. When you get things that come through, you have to speak it. Do you know what I mean? And in the beginning, it could be a challenge because you could be unsure, right? You're just starting off, just like anything in life, right? You're just starting. But it's like the more that you do it, the more that you trust it. And it's like a muscle. Do you know what I mean? It's literally like a muscle. You start to learn how to work with the energy. So it's like maybe in the beginning when you're just getting in tune with your psychic gifts and abilities, maybe you're on a specific diet, for example, you know, maybe you're meditating all the time to see what it feels like. But then you don't have to do that all the time. Do you know what I mean? Because then you learn how to hone it. I hope that that makes sense. You said that's so true. So many purported readers made certain predictions and made it apparent that they were operating with their bias. Exactly. This is the thing, because you have to be real with yourself, right? And like, again, different people are at different stages, and like you have to know yourself, and you have to know where your biases lie, and you have to be able to not steer things in that direction, right? Which can be a challenge, like absolutely can be a challenge, okay? So, it depends, right? And, you know, it just is what it is, because different people serve different parts of the collective. That's the way that I see it. So when you're at that level, right, and you're still operating at a certain frequency, like people who are on that frequency are going to resonate with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I told you guys once, like way back, like I've probably been to so many different psychics throughout my own life, right? And maybe, you know, now if I would look back and let's say go to like think of the first one that I ever went to, would they resonate with me now? Probably not, right? Because they were more about like the day-to-day types of things, right? At this point in time, when I'm looking at psychic things, I'm looking at things more from like a metaphysical perspective, like what's energetically happening behind the scenes, right? So you'll see this, like even when you start doing the work, like you'll see like through the types of questions you get, like the types of people that are drawn to your energy because of the fact that, again, it's where you're at. Like it's really interesting to see. So, but I do believe that everybody can exercise it. Like I do think that if you just take the time and you start to develop it, especially if you think that you already have some form of heightened ability, right? You take the time to sit down and practice it and believe in it and trust it and so on and so forth, like you can exercise it. I'm just going back up to see what you guys were saying in here. Hey guys, hey Anita, hey Esperanza, what is new? You said exactly, opportunities for self-employment are much more abundant these days. Thankfully, back in the day it was very difficult to become an entrepreneur. Exactly, that is because of the blessing of the internet. God bless the internet, honestly. You said, Barbara, the Saturnian teacher, thank you, is looking around the room and your 12 house stellium and Neptune's second house was kicking you while you were that kid saying, please don't pick me. Oh my gosh, what were we talking about then? Then you said, and Saren said, oftentimes we discuss how astrology can help us conduct our own lives and understand our lives, but also we can use this to understand the nature of this earth plane. Exactly. For example, they want to lock you in. Exactly. Your opinion seems to agree with mine that everything is backwards here. That's very reassuring just to recognize that for you. Okay, good. I'm glad that you agree. You will see the longer that you live down here on this earth plane, if you are paying attention, and again, in my own opinion, okay, everything down here is inverted and it's backwards, okay? So it's like when someone like tells you it's like this, you should question that essentially, okay? That's the way that I see it. He said, but nope, not this teacher. Oh, thank you so much. You guys are so nice. You said, can I speak on the chart ruler? Saturn in the first house intercepted. Capricorn rising, Saturn in Aquarius is intercepted. Okay, can you tell me what house do you have Saturn in? You said you're such a homebody, preach to your comfort zone. It's not really anymore. You feel like you're shedding a layer you feel like you're shedding a layer like a snake as of last night. Nice. You couldn't sleep and you were getting the info that you needed. Okay. That's really interesting. The vibes have been really interesting. Like I was talking about this with one of my friends. The vibes ever since we hit 2020, it literally feels like an actual timeline jump. Like I know these days everyone's talking about timeline jumps, but literally like as soon as 2025 hit, something energetically shifted. I'm loving the energies to be honest, but here's the thing. Hey DJ, how are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna get to you in just a second. Here's the thing, okay? It's like when the vibrations start going higher, okay, it depends where you're at again. Where are you at vibrationally? Because if you have things that are not integrated within you and you're again operating out of those lower chakras and there's shadows, you are going to have those shadows brought to the surface. That's why a lot of the time people who have a lot of light energy tend to trigger people who have a lot of darkness within them, and that's not even on purpose, okay? That just happens because the light energy brings up all the things that are chilling at the base of the spine, okay? Hey, DJ, okay, you said you need to quit end leaks. You said you need to quit end leaks. What's end leaks? It's now mission critical. After our consultation, you feel the attacks came for you harder via people around you daily. Really interesting. Should you tap into your Scorpio/destroyer energy? I'm curious to know. Oh, were you talking about energy leaks when you said end leaks? Okay, you know what's so interesting? Most of the time, you guys, the people who are going to come at you the most, or the people who are going to throw you off your path the most, or the people who actually can interfere with your path are people who are within your inner circle, okay? Because there's a cord from you to them, okay? So that's why it's a little bit of a struggle. So if you guys have plans or goals or you're trying to do something, it's probably better not to tell anybody, especially the people who are in your inner circle, because energetically, they can interfere. Like I know people say that, oh, what's meant for you won't miss you and nobody can interfere. No, people can interfere, okay? Because they can interfere with their thoughts. Because the thing is, we're all energy first, right? So because we're all energy first and you're, let's say, constantly around this person, let's say you say something, okay, you did mean energetically. Okay. I'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so let's say, right, you are around this person all the time, whoever it is, whether it's your friend, whether it's your lover, whether it is whoever, okay? You're around these people and it's like they can literally project onto you, okay? They can project onto you in terms of their thoughts, right? And that can literally energetically throw you off, okay? So it's this, and a lot of the time, again, this is connected to people's ego, right? Because everyone has an ego down here on this earth plane. So it's like, what happens is sometimes people get used to you. Yes, team tell no one. I'm on that team. I don't think you should tell anybody anything. I usually don't tell anybody anything, even when I'm traveling. When I'm traveling, like literally people find out when I'm at the airport, like I'm leaving kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I don't say anything to anybody, okay? So that's the thing. That's the thing here, okay? People can energetically throw you off your path. So going back to BJ's question here, you said you need to quit energy leaks. Okay, so what I would do, it's up to you. Okay, obviously you have the free will to do what you want. And thank you, by the way, for the super chat. But in this particular case, I'm curious to know also, what do you mean by Scorpio/destroyer energy in this situation? Because what I would do in that situation, if you know that somebody around you is snaky, or they are draining you of your life force energy, or they don't have good intentions, like trying to minimize contact, okay, with that individual, okay, as much as you can. That's probably the best thing to do. Let's see. You said you also have Saturn in the first house. Hey Diana, how are you doing? But you also have Saturn, or you also have Aquarius rising. So when you have Saturn in the first house, it gives you the undertone energy of having either a Capricorn rising or an Aquarius rising, but you're already an Aquarius rising. So you take on some of those traits. So basically, with that energy, you get restricted in, okay? Sue, in your case, you're a Capricorn rising, and then Diana, in your case, you are an Aquarius rising, but both of you guys have Saturn and Aquarius in the first house. Now, Sue, your question was Saturn in the first house, and it's in Aquarius, and it's intercepted. Basically, when you have the energy intercepted, what it means is it's swallowed up in your chart, okay? This is in the Placid tropical system, by the way, you guys. So it's the way that the houses get divided. So I have a video on interceptions. Check out my... Yes, I can get to the water in just 1 second. Hey, Sarah, welcome. Oh my gosh, no way. You're the same about the airport? Yay, there's more of us out there. Yeah, I'm literally the same, okay? I don't say anything to anybody until everything in general, until it's done kind of thing, okay? Because if it's in the growing stages and it's not yet grounded into this physical plane, people can literally interfere, okay? And especially in the current times that we're living in, people have a lot of jealousy energy. People, and here's the thing also, okay, I'll get back to the interception in just a second, but here's the thing also with all of that, okay? It's like, again, back to the ego thing that I was telling you guys. So everyone has some sort of ego, right? So let's say you guys are at the same level, okay? You guys started off at the same level. You know, let's say you start rising above this person. Well, their ego gets triggered. And not only does their ego get triggered, also their abandonment mood gets triggered, that they're gonna get left behind, right? So they're gonna keep trying to pull you down back to their level, right? So that's why sometimes it's hard to elevate when you have the people around you, right, who aren't necessarily allowing you to grow. And not just that, they're also projecting onto you the idea of you, right? So unconsciously, you could be picking up on that and feeding into that as well, okay? So there's so much going on. Like, there's so much going on energetically that people do not understand. Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh, you guys are so awesome. You said you're so secretive of your projects and personal doings. You said you're probably not telling until you're back from the trip if possible. Yeah, it depends. It's only the people who need to know. I tell those people. But the rest of the people don't even know. Like, I don't even post when I'm traveling. Like, I only post when I'm back. Like, I never ever post when I am away, where I am, like in the moment kind of thing. Even when I'm local, I don't post. Like, I post after, okay? You know how some people post and they like to flex and they're like, I'm here right now and I'm doing this right now. Like, I don't really do that type of thing. Yeah, you said you have to get on the team. Tell no one. Yeah, DJ, if you're still in the chat, let us know what you meant by the destroyer energy. You said you thought you're too much. No, that's like the A house. See, this is what I mean, because I know, Sue, you either have Scorpio or A house in there from like the previous slides. If you're a Scorpio A house person, and same thing with T, I think T also, you might have Scorpio A house going on. It's like, if you are like an A house or Scorpio person, like, you are going to know, you understand how energy works because you feel it probably within your body. Like, it's, okay, so interesting, because I was speaking on this earlier as well, right? The way that I feel it is I feel it in my solar plexus. Like, I can literally feel the moment if I say something to someone, and even if they're pretending to be happy, but if they're actually not, like, I feel it in my solar plexus, because that's where they're vibrating at as soon as I gave them the information. That's also why I tell things to people in person, because sometimes I love to see their reaction, to see like what's actually going on. But regardless, I can feel the energy anyways, even if it is through text, like the way that they're typing and stuff. But still, like, I'm like, I love to like observe and see like the facial expressions, because it's like you can see the micro change in someone's facial expression. So interesting. Okay, back to the interception. So, okay guys, so interceptions, okay, is the way that the houses get divided in the Placid tropical system. So you will see, okay, you might have, let's say Gemini, for example. Let's say you have Gemini in your second and your third house, okay? Then in that case, maybe you have, let's say, Sagittarius in your 8th and your 9th house, okay? So you have double. Hey, Melanie, how are you doing? How are you guys doing? So you have double of this energy, okay? Now you have something else in your chart that's quote unquote missing, okay? So you can check and see what sign doesn't technically have a house, okay? To understand where those signs would technically belong to, okay? You wanna look at the preceding sign, okay? So in this particular case, I'm just going back up here. you said you have Saturn and Aquarius in the first house intercepted, okay? So that probably means that you have Aquarius in the first house intercepted, okay? So what's preceding Aquarius is Capricorn. So probably when you look at the list, okay, in your case too, you're gonna see Capricorn is in the first house, and this is just as an example so everybody else understands how interceptions work, okay? You will see Capricorn is in the first house, Aquarius doesn't have a house as per the list, okay? And then after Aquarius is Pisces in the second house, okay? So Aquarius is technically missing. So you want to look at the preceding sign, okay? The preceding sign to Aquarius is Capricorn. Capricorn is in the first house. That means Aquarius is in the first house intercepted, okay? It's always going to be the oppositional energy, okay? But if you want to check for yourself, okay, then you're going to look at Cancer in the 7th. And then after Cancer in the 7th, in the 8th house, you're probably going to have Virgo. Hold on, let me think. Yes, you're probably gonna have Virgo. So that means the sign that's missing here is Leo. So you also have Leo in the 7th house intercepted, okay? So now for you, it's the creativity axis that is intercepted, okay? And also the axis of the self and of the other. Aquarius in the first house, and then you have Leo in the 7th house intercepted, okay? So these energies are now swallowed up in your chart. So when you have this interception taking place, this now means that when you were younger, when you were growing up, okay, you know, this energy was not nurtured within you. As you guys know, I'm not a psychologist, that's always my disclaimer, but this means the energy wasn't nurtured within you in one way, shape, or form, okay? Maybe the parents were different, maybe they were busy, maybe they suppressed it within you for whatever reason. So it's the axis of the self-expression, okay, which is Aquarius, in terms of like the unique self-expression and being your own unique self, Aquarius in the first house. And then you have Leo, which is creative expression, okay? That's creativity. And then it's in the 7th house, so that's gonna be a whole different story when it comes to your relationships. I'm not gonna get into that right now, okay? So this is now swallowed up in your chart, right? So now you can have intercepted placements, okay? So you wanna see, in Sue's case, Sue has Saturn and Aquarius in the first house intercepted. So now Saturn is also swallowed up in her natal chart as well, okay? So what does this mean when you have an intercepted Saturn in Aquarius in the first house? Well, this can mean, for example, okay, let's say when you were younger and you were growing up, maybe you weren't able to fully express the self, for example, okay? Maybe you weren't able to, and the Saturn energy can either be the father, the dominant masculine role in your life, and then it's authorities, okay? So then it's gonna be your managers, it's gonna be your teachers. All these people throughout your life are suppressing you in the area of the self, and it's even more because it's intercepted. When I see an interception, to me at least, it draws my attention to it even more. This basically means that now you have to work harder to pull the energy out, okay? To bring this energy to the surface, okay? That's basically Saturn in the first house intercepted, okay? Saturn in the first also gives you the undertone of having a Capricorn rising, which already you are a Capricorn rising, okay? So it's the restriction on the self. Like when you have Saturn in the first, or if you're a Capricorn rising, you know, you might kind of give off an intimidating vibe to people, or you might kind of give off an authoritative type of vibe to people, right? So you might notice that, like, let's say you're out and about and you're in the store, people come to you and they ask you, for example, you know, where can I find the leggings, right? They think you work there, or they think you're the manager, or they ask you for directions, right? Because you have that vibe. Now it's interesting when you have this vibe, because in terms of the restriction energy, let's say you're trying to get promoted in your job, okay? Let's say you're trying to get promoted in your job, and in this particular case, the manager is now threatened to promote you because they worry if they promote you, and this is one of the shadow things that happens under this capitalistic system for now, at least while it exists, okay? Let's say the manager is now threatened to promote you because they worry that if they promote you, you're going to eventually replace them, because just like scarcity or whatever, right? So it's like this energy has to learn how to play the game, okay? You have to learn how to kind of adjust your energy to not come off too intimidating, listen to people, still try to get into those positions, but like not threatening to the point where it's like, you know, they feel like you're gonna replace them. Do you know what I mean? And that's eventually what the energy learns to do, okay? So it's this. Oh my gosh, Esperanza, you're so funny. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are awesome. Yes, we talk about all things in here, astrology. So anything to do with your natal charts, I can answer. Anything to do with metaphysics overall, and anything you guys want to talk about, just feel free to comment below. I'm just going back up to see what you guys are saying. KT, you were saying you can feel it in your crown area. You feel the energy switch even through text. Exactly. Life of the intuitive person. You said micro change on someone's facial expression. Exactly. Most people, they don't understand, but those are the things that expose, right? Because you have people who can become such good actors or actresses, and this is also why Scorpio, like more evolved Scorpio energy, is very good at mastering the subtleties, okay, of the facial expressions, because they're hyper aware of them. Do you know what I mean? Because like you having the Scorpio energy in your chart, you're looking for that in people, right? And you know what's interesting? Scorpio energy, if you look at Scorpio energy Hey, Melanie. Oh, I'm just seeing your question here. You said, how often do I go on live to keep up and not miss a live? Oh, thank you for being here. So far, okay, here's the thing. So far, I've been going Mondays in the evenings, okay? So Eastern Standard Time evenings, so wherever you guys are, okay? It's been pretty consistent. But other than that, before, sometimes I would go on Tuesday, sometimes I would go on Wednesday. Those are the highest likelihood days, okay? Sometimes, it depends on my schedule, okay? If my schedule and I'm doing something, sometimes I will occasionally go on live, like on a Thursday. But more often than not, it's like as more, like the more the week progresses, the less likelihood of a chance there is that I'm gonna go live, okay? So most likely is Monday or Tuesday, okay? But these days, like this past, like, you know, few months, it's pretty much been Mondays, okay? But I don't like saying that it's always gonna be Mondays because I like to have the opportunity to switch up. Do you know what I mean? So it's Mondays, Tuesdays, and then Wednesdays. It kind of, you know, slowly decreases in, what's the word, probability, okay? As the week goes on. Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm just gonna go back up here and see. You said you were lost in life, you love astrology and would love to be an astrologer. Should you focus all your energy in astrology? You said someone said yes or no. Oh, you guys are so nice for answering Melanie's question. Melanie and everybody else, okay? Obviously you have the free will to do what you want, but this is what I'm gonna say, okay? You guys always have to listen to what your heart space wants and what you guys love to do, okay? Regardless of whatever else is taking place around you, because when you love what you're doing, everything comes towards you automatically, okay? And that is interesting. I was just speaking on this in terms of the earlier part of this video, okay? It's like, it could be counterintuitive and it might be a challenge in the beginning, especially if you're like if you're going against, let's say maybe what somebody else wants for you or what society expects and these types of things, like whatever you guys want to do, okay? Because a lot of the time people have something that they want to do is really what it is, right? And the soul will be pulling you in that direction. And this is what I mean. I was literally talking about this earlier, how people get fragmented and they end up living double lives. I'm not saying this is you at all, okay? But sometimes this happens for people because it's like part of them is going to do something that, you know, let's say society or the family or whoever it is, okay, wants for them. And then on the side, they're going to be doing what they actually want to do. And then they split energetically, right? You're now living maybe a double life or you're living in this fragmentation, right? So you want to be whole as a person and you want to be able to integrate fully the self, right? So if you struggle in that area, you'd have to explore and see, right, what's holding you back? You know, what's holding you back from living in your truth? What, you know, what are the challenges and so on and so forth is basically what that is. You said, you guess you're just hard on yourself because you want a traditional degree, but you think it's a waste of money and time for you because you keep getting in your own way and you just don't see yourself doing university. That's up to you. I did university. Like I looked at university as a backup and I'm happy that I did it. I mean, here's the thing. The school part was a struggle, but I enjoy the socializing part and like all of that. So it's up to you is really what that is. Like, it depends what's happening energetically, right? Because it's like the way that I saw it was like, okay, this is an energetic backup. I always have something to fall back on. And that just gave me, let's say, more confidence to go out there and interact in the world the way that I did in the past. Do you know what I mean? So it depends on you as a person and what's going to work for you energetically. You said, thank you. Hey, DJ. You said you meant you tried to tap into your builder energy, 22 being too nice. You sent me an email. I can read on live in case someone else needs to hear it, but team, tell no one helped. Yes, team, tell no one. I'll look at your email after the live because I can't look at it while I'm live because I'd have to go into the other app. So I'll check it out and then I'll respond to you there. You said Plutonians and sharing schedules, c'est la vie. You get it. It's also, okay, this is what I started telling you guys about the micro expressions, okay? Okay, if you guys look at Scorpio energy, right? Scorpios can become such good actors or actresses because the Scorpio energy, if you look at just Scorpio on its own, the 10th house of Scorpio is Leo, okay? So the 10th house of Scorpio is Leo. And because the 10th house of Scorpio is Leo, they are very aware of the energy they're projecting outward, okay? So this is why also you will hear a lot of the time about Scorpio and the poker face and like not changing their facial expressions and so on and so forth and like knowing how to react in certain situations because of the fact that, again, they study other people and they know how to not react in a certain situation if they're like trying to not expose themselves. I hope that makes sense. You said it's hard for you. It's been taking so long. You graduated in 2020 and that threw you off. And yeah, why did it throw you off? Also, another thing, back to what you mentioned about Plutonians and sharing schedules. The 4th house of Scorpio, okay, if you just look at Scorpio, I have a video on this, you guys. If you're new here, check out that video. It's called A Deeper Look at Scorpio Energy, okay? And you can do this for any of the signs to understand how the signs operate. So the 4th house of Scorpio, okay, if you look at just Scorpio to understand the energy, the 4th house of Scorpio is Aquarius, right? So this is why Scorpio energy has a strong need for individuality, okay? And to be their own person and to do their own thing, okay? You said Scorpios are the most convincing liars, like actresses. Absolutely, they're very good. They are very good at, depends where they are at, right? Sometimes I find if they're like maybe younger or not as evolved, or they are like in hypervigilant energy, they might expose themselves, okay? Because sometimes with them, they might overcompensate. You know what I mean? So because they notice everything that other people don't notice, they might basically bring through like the focus on that thing that nobody was paying attention to. Do you know what I mean? So for example, I can't even think of an example right now, but yeah, I'm sure you guys catch my drift. So it's like, let's say, you know, you pick up on something that like, okay, here's the best example. I'm sure you guys are going to relate. Okay. Let's say, and this probably happens when people are younger. Okay. Let's say, you know, you have a crush on someone and you're trying to hide the fact that you have a crush, but then you trying to hide the fact that you have a crush, you're acting like not like yourself. I hope that makes sense. You might be overcompensating, or you might like, you know, be overly nice to them, or you might go into the opposite where you don't talk to them at all. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So it's like, it depends like at what point of the evolutionary journey they're on. Cause sometimes when they're more underdeveloped, they can overcompensate, or they can do like too much to try to cover up something. Right. So in that particular case, it could be a struggle, right? Because then they expose themselves without trying to expose themselves, okay? But then if they are like on the pro level, they're so good at like emotional control and not reacting, registering everything, okay? Like you'll have to really know them. Like I had a friend once who was Scorpio dominant as well amongst each other. Like, like amongst like the two of us, we had like so many Scorpio placements, okay? And I literally learned, like this friend always had a poker face, like not overly expressive overall, but I literally learned that friends, like micro expressions, that I literally knew like, you know, when certain things were happening or whatever was going on, okay? So it's like, you know, the everyday person's not gonna notice, do you know what I mean? Because the everyday person doesn't notice anything, okay? But if you're someone who's more observant and you're more in tune, you will pick up on these things, okay? You said you learned that not everyone notices as much as you do. No, they don't. You said you mastered it. Exactly. Nobody notices. So that's the thing, right? Most people are oblivious, actually. Okay. Most people are so oblivious. You said method acting. Yes. You said, Diana. Okay. I think one of you guys was asking. Let me go back up and see. Something about a progressed energy. I'm going back up to see here. Okay, you said thoughts on Cancer moon transition progression to Leo. So the secondary progressions, you guys, is in terms of the moon, okay? The moon progresses every 2 years, okay? So because it progresses every 2 years, you can kind of look at it as like what is emotionally fulfilling you for those 2 years, okay? So for example, you're going out of the Cancer moon and now you're going into the Leo moon. During the Cancer moon era, maybe you were like more in tune with your feelings, or maybe you were more of a homebody, or maybe you were more with family, for example. Maybe you were clearing certain things connected to family. Now it progresses into Leo, okay? It progresses into Leo. Well, now at this point in time, it's like maybe now it's more of you wanting to be on that stage. You want to be seen. You want to be doing something creative, for example, okay? Something of this sort, okay? You're going into more of an outward energy, and these are the things that are going to emotionally fulfill you, okay? You said your moon progressed from 5th. Okay, yes, you had that question as well earlier. You said your moon progressed from 5th house Pisces to 6th house Aries. Okay, so in terms of the moon, okay, it was in the 5th house Pisces, okay? So when it was in the 5th house of Pisces, you know, maybe during that period of time, you were getting more in tune with your psychic gifts and abilities. Maybe you were more about the arts. Maybe you were very interested in the metaphysical world, for example, maybe the creative world, for example. Maybe you were very much dreaming, right, during that period of time, okay? And maybe, let's say, you know, you were getting comfortable with that 5th house of being seen. Now, I like seeing Pisces going into Aries, right? Because Pisces takes the dreams, Aries starts to put them into action, okay? So for these next 2 years, okay, whenever it entered into Aries, you know, it'll be a good time for you to start things, okay? For you to, you know, get that project going, for example, okay? And because it's the 6th house is like, you know, the day-to-day routines and creating a schedule and perfecting your craft, okay? So whatever maybe you were dreaming about these past 2 years and planning, and maybe you wanted to do so many things, you now refine it, pick the one thing, and then you focus on that thing, okay? I'm so glad that resonated. You said thoughts on Gemini 12th house intercepted at the 11th degree in terms of career. You have a 12th house Gemini. Okay, so when you have your 12th house intercepted, you have it in the sign of Gemini, right? You want to look at what is the other 12th house sign, okay? Because on top of that 12th house sign, okay, whatever sign you have occupying the 12th house, now the intercepted energy is creeping behind the scenes, okay? So behind the scenes energetically, you want to look at the shadows, because I find with the intercepted energies, you tend to go into the shadow of the energy first, okay? You're welcome. I'm glad that resonated, okay? So that's how you guys can look at, let's say, the moon progressions, okay? It's like what's emotionally fulfilling you for that period of time. So when you have Gemini intercepted, let's say in the 12th house, so interesting, right? Because you were speaking on earlier in your comment, right, in terms of wanting to do something, right? Well, like Gemini, you know, when you have it in the 12th house, the shadow here could be like you mastering speaking up for yourself, for example, okay? It could be expression, self-expression, right? Because the thing is, when you have the 12th house energy and then you have the sign in there, you tend to go into the shadow of the sign first, okay? What's the shadow of Gemini? Inconsistency. They can be flaky. They want to do everything. Things get boring. They move on to the next thing. They forget what they were doing. They want one thing in the morning. They change their mind by the evening, right? That's the shadow of Gemini, okay? So you might be working on those traits to integrate them within the self to see, okay, basically what are they and how can you go into the divine version, okay? So the divine version of Gemini is multitasking, having your hands in multiple pots, right? Having a lot of friends, talking to a lot of people, networking, okay? Knowing a lot of things, you know, speaking, using your throat chakra, but like in a divine version. So that's basically how that works. You said Taurus moon. Oh my gosh, no way, you're a Taurus moon. You said, thankfully, hermit mode, but in the best shape of your life. Oh, that's so awesome. You said it's an energy thing. It is an energy thing. You said health, beauty, and spirituality. It's literally all energetic. The way that you look is basically always coming from within, essentially. You said Scorpios being able to lie is a good example of needing to look at all of the energies in one's chart. You said you're a Scorpio sun, hold on, you're a Scorpio sun, but also moon in the first house and Pisces rising. I'm curious to know, hold on, you have Aries moon in the first house and then you're a Scorpio sun. Can you tell me what house do you have Scorpio in? You said, so you wear your emotions on your face. Pisces rising, depends. It depends, right? Because sometimes, let's say you have Scorpio in the first house, you might not be able to hide as well, but it doesn't mean you can't learn. It doesn't mean you can't learn. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a matter of seeing, like, as soon as you get the emotional hit, seeing, like, you know, how can you control that? And because, like, that's what Scorpio is. Like, Scorpio is mastering emotions. Do you know what I mean? In this lifetime. So it's a matter of, like, pulling it in and honing it in. Give me 1 second, you guys. Okay, I am back. Okay, DJ, you said you have been on S. Okay, I'm not going to say the whole word because I don't know if I can say it on here, but you said you've been on S for tension. And in your dreams, you get a female succubus trying to sleep with you, and then you wake up fighting them off. You said ways. What are practical ways or spiritual practices you can protect yourself with? That's so interesting. That's actually such a thing. It's interesting because it's like sometimes when you're trying to resist something, you're kind of attracting that thing more. I hope that makes sense, okay? So it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like if you are trying to not do something, right, you're actually putting your focus on a thing. So it's like pulling that thing to you more, right? And you will see, like, anytime you guys are trying to do something, like, there's always going to be the oppositional energy that's going to try to pull you off of your path, okay? Or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Because here's the thing, okay? You know, these entities, like, they chill on the astral realm, right? Like, they can actually hear what we're thinking. And that's why sometimes it's like a little bit of a struggle, because it's like, let's say you have an intention, or you have something that you are trying to, let's say you have an intention or something that you were trying to do, okay? They will hear you on the astral and they will deliberately try to pull you off your path, especially if you're going higher up in vibration. The higher up you go in vibration, you will see the characters, even in the physical realm, get sent to you, okay? Trying to throw you off your path. Now, in terms of your dreams, the only thing that I can suggest, and this is something that I do, so I don't know if it's gonna resonate with you, maybe you can take like a version of it, but I didn't even realize that this is something that I was doing without like realizing. Like, I pray before I go to bed. And I realized recently, okay, I was just kind of doing that because I have like a whole system before, you know, closing out the evening. Like, I cleanse the energy in my space, and while I'm cleansing the energy, I'm doing a prayer, okay, in my place. And then I realized that like me doing the prayer is actually a way of me protecting myself, like my spiritual body, when I'm going into the astral when I'm sleeping. So seeing if you can do something of that sort to close your auric field before you are going to bed, okay? For example, let's say it could be a prayer, but it doesn't just have to be a prayer. Let's say it's just like your intention before you go to sleep, right? Like having a strong intention, because that's the thing, what I've noticed too, not only are they trying to siphon our energy in the physical realm, like these entities, right, through people and situations and circumstances, they also try to siphon your energy in the astral realm, okay? In terms of having like, even let's say intense dreams or emotional dreams, like they're always trying to feed off of our emotional energy, okay? So trying to do something where you can protect yourself, right, before going to sleep, okay? Maybe it's gonna help you. And then maybe trying to take your mind off of that particular thing. I hope that that makes sense, okay? Because again, anytime you're trying to do something, you'll see, you guys will see, the more you're trying to do something, the more you will have the oppositional energy coming towards you, trying to pull you off your path. You said your progressed moon is changing from Scorpio to Sag this week. Oh, that's nice. That's like, wee, fun. And then you said you've been feeling the 29 degrees. When it goes to Sag, it's going to be on your Mars and your North Node. Oh, nice. So it'll be like very much like passionate in terms of going after your goals at that particular point in time. You said, you know what's interesting about Sag energy, you guys? What I've noticed? Sag is masculine, okay, but they're mutable. So with Sag energy, it's like because of the masculine energy, like they're gonna go after things, but then they're mutable, so they're gonna be scattered all over the place, right? So Sag is actually meant to master discipline, actually, okay? That's what they learn from Capricorn afterwards, right? When you go into Capricorn out of Sag. So that's what's interesting with Sagittarius energy, because it's like, it's masculine, right? So because the energy is masculine, you think that they're going to be, you know, going after things and so on and so forth. But like Sag can be very energetically scattered because it's mutable. This is fun, that's fun, I wanna be here, I wanna go on this adventure, all these things, right? So it's like Sag is actually meant to master the discipline aspect of things. And you know what's also interesting, you guys? In the tarot, Sag is represented by the Temperance card, okay? Temperance is all about patience. So Sag is actually learning patience, okay, in this lifetime. You said they can be so restless and all over the place. Absolutely, absolutely. I've noticed that with Sagittarius energy. Like they can be really smart, they can know a lot of things, but when it comes to going after things, they are kind of scattered energetically, okay? And it's like they can have a hard time focusing on what it is that they want to do because they also bounce off a Gemini. You said, speaking of protection while sleeping, I read on the internet one should not wear an evil eye bracelet at night. That's so interesting, and no one can figure out why that would be. I've never heard of that. I wonder who said that and what their reason was. You said Pluto is in your 9th house of Aquarius, where your midheaven 29 degrees, Uranus is 25 degrees, Neptune 8 degrees, all in Aquarius. Any thoughts in terms of career? Is your midheaven in Aquarius too? Because that literally could be astrology. Remember you said, I remember you said that you were interested in astrology, so that literally could be astrology, or it could just be an unconventional career with the Aquarius midheaven. Let me know. One of you guys said to call in one of the archangels. Absolutely. Like honestly, whatever works for you guys, okay? But like going in with intention and seeing if that changes anything energetically. You said you're so good at hiding your emotions. You can actually completely... You said you're so good at hiding your emotions, you can actually completely detach and intellectualize them before feeling them through sometimes. And then you said, though sometimes you can implode. Moon square Pluto has gotten better. Oh, that's good. What sign do you have your moon in, T? I'm curious. You said that definitely resonates. Okay, good. Oh, thank you. You said my intuition's always on point. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You said based off of your chart, is there a service that I can provide you with your sleeping routine / prayer? You've been on affirmations, but the attacks still come. Okay, let me focus on that and see, DJ, what else could come through for you. For that, I don't have any service that I could do. It's actually interesting you asked that, because one time I had someone who asked me to do a house clearing for them. That's still when I was doing Reiki. Maybe, okay, send me an email, DJ, and then I'll see, okay? Because I don't actually have any services that are on my website that are connected to that, but it's interesting you asked me that, because one day back in the day when I still did Reiki, because it's a form of remote viewing, okay? So I basically was energetically cleansing, because somebody asked me to do like an energetic cleanse of their house. So it's like, I don't have to be there, right? Because I can see in my mind's eye. It's like a form of remote viewing. I can't explain it any other way. And it was so interesting, because psychically what came through was that person had like a book or something of that sort in their house. Like I can still see it in my mind's eye, like it was in the corner or something of that sort. Someone had given something to them, and that particular thing was basically creating a portal, okay? Because sometimes people give you things, let's say it's a gift, and maybe this is coming through, DJ, because maybe there's something going on with you where somebody gave you something and it's creating an energetic opening or an energetic portal. I am so particular, okay, when it comes to things that people give me, and food especially, okay? I don't know, maybe it's like the point where I'm at right now, okay, in terms of the awareness that I have of this earth plane. When someone gives me food or anything, I don't eat it from people. I don't eat it unless it's like someone that I like is like a close friend or whatever, right? Like someone that's trusted. Most people, I don't eat their food, right? I just say thank you and so on and so forth. And it's actually so interesting because I have a story about that. So when I was in Costa Rica, yes, I can talk more about portals, and yes, I have to get to your water question, okay? I'm gonna get to that next, okay? As a 4, okay? So when I was in Costa Rica, it was so interesting because I was in this one city, and oh my gosh, there's a whole story about that. I don't know. Okay, let me know if you guys want to know that story, okay, when I went to the city, and it ended up being like so energetically intense. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by just like life of an individual who's meant to transmute energy, and you end up in like shady areas, okay? So I ended up in like kind of like a shady city, okay? And inadvertently, like it was so interesting because people were recommending it. But anyways, long story short, okay, I'm not going to get, okay, you want to know the story? Okay, let me tell you guys, okay? So I went to Costa Rica, okay? Let me tell you guys the story. So I went to Costa Rica. The first mistake that I made was when I booked the Airbnb. Okay, when I booked the Airbnb, I should have put, because I was gonna go there and I was gonna work, okay? I was gonna go there and I was gonna work. So the first mistake that I made was the fact that I didn't say that 2 people were gonna be in that Airbnb, okay? But it's fine, whatever, you live and you learn, okay? So it's gonna be me and then the Airbnb where it was at, and I'm not gonna say the city name because I'm not trying to hate, like it's not like a hating thing, it's like a vibrational thing, okay? And just like picking up on energies, okay? So I go to that city, okay, and that's the first, like that's where things like already started, okay? So then the Airbnb that I was staying at, the host, okay, basically it was like a house and like they were right next door, okay? So whenever the host came over, the host gave me pineapples or whatever, or like a pineapple, and I was like, oh, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like uneasy the entire time. But at first I was like, you know, maybe I'm just like reading into things. Like maybe I just like need to give it a few days. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, it's fine. But like already that put me on kind of like alert, okay? The fact that I put that it was just me, but it's fine, okay? So there was that. And then like, again, I'm like going into the city, and the way that it was like, okay, so the Airbnb was here and then they had kind of like their highway, but like the highway is not like, the highway is like, it's called a highway, but it's like a smaller street. I hope that makes sense, okay? So you cross the highway and then like it was close to the beach. You like walk down like a little bit for some time, maybe like 10, 15 minutes. You kind of have like the little downtown area and then you get to the beach, okay? So it was interesting because then I was going to the beach, and then when I'm going to the beach, there's a hotel, and then around the hotel, I see all these girls, and like to me, they look like quote unquote working girls, okay? So I'm like messaging one of my friends, and again, I'm like, maybe I'm reading into it, right? But I'm like, okay, like I literally feel like there's like a lot of like, what's going on here? Like, you know when people dress up, you know what I mean? Right? And I'm like, I feel like there's something like shady that's going on like in this area, okay? So I'm like, okay, but again, in my head, I'm like, let me just give it a few days. Maybe it's the change. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, because I was going to be there for a while. I was like, maybe it's the change. Maybe it's like, whatever. I just got here, whatever. Okay. So I'm like, okay, like, let's give it a little bit more time. So then, okay, then I'm trying to remember what happened first. I think what happened first was I heard a gunshot down the road. Okay. I think that was the first thing that happened one of the days. And then I was like, okay, what is going on here? And then another one of the days, someone knocks on my door. Okay? And because the neighbor or whatever had brought me the pineapple that one day, I thought the neighbor, which by the way, I didn't even eat the pineapple, okay? Again, back to the whole me not eating anything that anybody gives me. And this is connecting to another story actually, okay? So then what ends up happening was the neighbor, okay, comes and, sorry, hold on. The neighbor, I thought it was the neighbor who had knocked, okay, on the door, okay? Because one of the days the neighbor had come, who was actually the host, okay? So I'm like, okay, and someone's knocking on the door, and I didn't even think to look who was there. I just automatically assumed it was the neighbor. I don't know why. Tell me how it's like a random, like unhoused person who's knocking on my door. And like, by the way where this Airbnb was, it was like directly on the street, right? So I literally shut the door right away. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, okay, I started researching. I'm like, I need to get out of the city. I'm like ASAP, like I need to get out of here, okay? So anyway, so then I messaged the host, and then the host comes out and scares like the unhoused person away or whatever, and I don't know what happens afterwards, okay? So that went down, and then coincidentally, just like the way the things like align, okay? Coincidentally, one of my friends was actually in the city, okay? So one of my friends was actually in the city. So my friend, and it was so interesting because I knew my friend was living there, but I like in Costa Rica overall, but I didn't think to message, and I didn't think they were gonna be in the same city. Like it was this weird like alignment thing, okay? So my friend messages me. Okay, so my friend messages me, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, what's going on? Like, let's meet up, blah, blah, blah. Tell me how this friend first tells me about all the things that are, you said you don't trust, you don't trust Airbnb. You said you heard bad stories. I don't know what to say. You know, I would rather, whatever. Anyways, I'm not gonna say anything. Anyways, so then my friend messages, okay? My friend messages me, so then I'm like, okay, let me go meet my friend. So then my friend is staying at this place that's literally in that middle, like, center, like, the little center, like, what is it called? Downtown area, okay? Anyways, I'm like, okay, let me go meet up with my friend. And then I just got such a strange vibe, okay? Because my friend brought me to the place, and then they had, like, the food that they were making, and I'm like, I just have this strange vibe about this food. They're telling me all these, like, shady stories. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on right now, okay? And I'm like, okay, this food is giving me a weird vibe. And it's crazy, like wild how people have intuition, okay? Because so that friend then, because of the way they were telling me the stories, I'm not gonna go into detail what it was, but the stories they were telling me, I was like, okay, like what's happening here? And then they were giving me strange vibes. So then I told them that I was with other people, okay? Or whatever, because I was like, okay, like let me try to like cut this situation short, okay? So then they noticed, it's wild how people have their own intuition. They noticed that I wasn't gonna eat the food, and they were like, okay, well, if you don't want to eat the food, like, I think I said I was like gonna eat like later. I don't remember what I said. It was like 2-3 years ago, or maybe I ate before and I said I ate before. I don't know, something like that, but I wasn't eating the food. Okay, I was like, I'm just gonna take this and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it after, but I'm not gonna eat it, right? So basically what ended up happening was that friend then was like, okay, well, if you're not gonna eat the food, just go give it to like a person who doesn't have a house, right, somewhere like in the street or whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. So yes, that connected me to that story. So I didn't end up eating the food. I ended up actually giving it to someone after. And you know what's wild? I ended up leaving, I think the next day or maybe within the next 2 days. I left early. Okay, I didn't even bother. You said I sound like you said I sound like I'm describing a horror movie. Let me tell you, I feel like I averted, okay, the most intense thing, because let me tell you what happened after that, okay? So I left. I didn't even tell the guy that I was leaving or whatever. I just like left the key and then I just like left or whatever. And I left early. I didn't even bother messaging. Like, I didn't even care at that point. I was like, I just want to get out, okay? I don't care that I'm leaving early. I don't care about anything. Let me just leave the city altogether. I just wanted to go somewhere else, okay? So on my way, tell me how, on my way. So then on my way to the next city, okay, I'm in this bus, okay, and there's all these like people who were at a festival. So there was a lot of people who were there because there was a festival going on. Tell me how they tell me, okay, when I'm in the bus or whatever with them. Like, it was a bus and then it was a boat. It was like a whole situation, okay? Anyways, so tell me how they tell me. They're like, oh, this city is all about strippers and cocaine. And I'm like, I literally picked up on that. I was like, I literally picked up on all of this. And this is why you guys have to always listen to your intuition. So I'm glad that I left, and you guys should always listen to your intuition and just like exit as soon as you start like picking up on the weird vibes. So that's my story about that. Now I'm going back up to see, what are you guys saying up here? You said understanding the difference between intuition and fear is or something else. And that's the thing. And that's sometimes why it's a struggle, because especially if you have Scorpio energy in your chart, you're going to have that dilemma. You're going to be like, am I picking up on something, or am I feeding or like reading into it? Do you know what I mean? You might have that dilemma taking place. But after a while, I was like, I need to get out of here, basically. And I'm glad that I did. And then I found out that like, that it's basically like a hub for all of that, what I just mentioned. I'm not going to say the words again, because I don't know how many times I can say things on here. And I was like, okay, well, somehow I ended up here, but I'm glad that I left. And the rest of my trip was fun. I had a really good time in the other cities that I was at. But yeah, that one, I just found it interesting because a lot of people recommended it, but I'm not sure where they went, like maybe another part of the city. You said you're constantly bouncing. See, one of you guys said you're constantly bouncing between trying to figure out if it's actually your intuition or if you're being paranoid. That's the Scorpio 8 house. That's what I was wondering. I'm like, am I just reading into this? Like, am I just like, you know, like, again, different people have different ways of living, right? So I was like, maybe I'm just like reading into this. Maybe, you know, I just need to give it some more time. But no, you guys always got to listen to your intuition. You said transported back 100 years. You had such a fear of dread and went through an alley anyway. Such a strange experience. What's that intuition? You said Scorpio risings are psychically readable. We should try to do that on... What are you saying? I'm just going back up. Let's see. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, you were like pineapple. I think he was trying to be nice by bringing the pineapple, but I was just kind of like, thanks. I just left it there. It actually ended up going rotten because it was like, okay, it's so interesting. I've never actually seen a pineapple go rotten, but it was really interesting because I didn't notice because I was so distracted with everything else that was taking place. I just had it like in the kitchen. And when the pineapple starts going rotten, it starts like the water from it starts like going everywhere. So it was so interesting because then one of the days when I was coming back, I was like, what is that smell? I'm like, what is that smell? And then I figured out that it was like the pineapple that was going bad. I'm just looking at your guys's. Oh yes, okay, so the water. Okay, let me go back up and see exactly what you said. You wanted to know more about portals. Okay, let me talk about the water and then I'll talk about the portals. I'm just gonna go back up here and see what were you asking about the water. 1 second, if I can find it. Water is a portal, by the way, which is interesting. Water is absolutely a portal. Okay, you said, can I talk about the water's healing properties? Okay, so water is really interesting because water, the way that I see it is like, water is almost like an ET property, okay? I don't think that people have an understanding of how, yes, healing water is, but in general, like what we could do with water, because even me too, like I still think to myself and I'm like, there's definitely more that we can do with water. Because the thing is, let's say you guys are trying to bring something through You know, you guys can put water into a cup, okay, or your water bottle, and you can kind of put an intention over your cup, over your water bottle. You're so funny. Esperanza, you're so funny. Yeah, in this day and age, and this was a few years ago, okay? So like these days, I would be kind of like, okay, what is going on here even more? But here's the thing, okay? Because sometimes people are going to be like, okay, well, maybe it's like anxiety or whatever, right? When you're debating between like intuition, is it intuition or is it paranoia? But the way that I see it is like, you're still picking up on something. Do you know what I mean? Because if everything was calm and everything was like peaches and cream, you wouldn't be picking up on anything at all. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes even if you have anxiety in a situation, even if you think that it's, you know, pulling you maybe into a shadow energy, it's like if there wasn't anything, you wouldn't be picking up on anything at all. I hope that makes sense. You said water has come up in a quote so many times recently. Interesting, right? Okay, so water is super healing. Being by water is healing. Yeah, exactly. There's always something there, even in a situation. Let's say it's with a person, okay? Let's say it is with, you know, in a place that you're at, like how I was in that area, right? Like you're picking up on something that's like a vibrational mismatch, okay? So that's the way that I see it. It's like, it's still telling you something. Like, even if you are still going into like the debate, is it, you know, my intuition? Is it, you know, paranoia? Is it a fear? Like whatever it is, like it's still something. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, the way that I see it is like, it's still a survival thing. Like it's a survival mechanism that's telling you, like, the way that I see it also, especially if you're going into anxiety, is like, okay, not safe, leave. Something's off here, like red flag. Like sometimes you'll get that with people too, okay? They could be the nicest to you, but vibrationally, like there could be something there that you are picking up on within your body. And this is another thing too, like this is why like people need to get in tune with your intuition, okay? Or with their intuition. Because when you're in tune with your intuition and you're in tune with your body, like your body knows first before anything else, okay? So back to the water, and then I'll get to your other questions, you guys, okay? So water is healing, yes. Second of all, it is a portal. Third of all, there's a lot with water. Like definitely I think that water is used to get into different dimensions, because again, allegedly in my own opinion, but if you guys notice that a lot of people who have crossed out in the past always somehow cross out either in like a bathtub or in a lake or around water in one way, shape, or form, in a hot tub, okay? The way that I see it is what they're doing, those people, like that group of people, they are, okay, so because they are aware of this, like they are using water in a way like as like a reverse baptism, okay? So it's like, you know how people quote unquote get baptized and like they use water in that too, right? So it's like this group of people who is aware of this, allegedly in my own opinion, what they do is they use the water as a form of like, it's almost like a reverse baptism energetically. Like I can't explain any other way. They're using the water to catch the person on the astral plane or to help the person go into another dimension. Like that's the way that I see it. So that's another thing with water. So water is a portal in that way. Again, in my own opinion, allegedly, all the things, okay? That's just my own opinion. So there's that with water. Also, if you're around water, okay, you, like the water will cleanse you, right? So because we are water, which one of you guys mentioned in here as well, we are predominantly water, right? So when you are around water itself, it's going to help neutralize your own energy within. In general, nature is gonna help you with that as well. And it's like a good cleansing energy, okay? So you guys might notice, like, you know, let's say you guys are out and about and then you come back and like, you know, like let's say you were in like wherever, you might want to shower, right? Like let's say you have like multiple showers throughout the day. Like let's say you were like unconsciously cleansing yourself from energy. Yes, that's what it is. It's the womb. Yes, exactly. Same time you said showers, absolutely. Yes, it is the womb, okay? It's a form of, because again, you enter into this realm through water again, okay? Yes. Exactly. I wrote about that in one of my books. I'm trying to think which one it was. It might have been the more recent one where I talked about water is, what did I say? Because the thing is, this information comes through and then I write it down. And then if I'm not thinking about it, it leaves my mind. But I said something about the water basically being a portal between dimensions. Like that's basically what it is, right? So when you enter, you're entering into the womb as well, okay? So the womb is also water, okay? And now these days, they're trying to say that these beings, okay, are in the water as well, which is another thing that I also wrote about. That one I wrote about on my threads, okay? Follow my threads, you guys. It's called Barbara, BARBARAJSC, okay? Everything that I think of, I write on there, okay? That comes through like in the moment. So there's that. And then I saw this picture, which I thought was so interesting because the picture was a pregnant woman and in her stomach, she had the earth, okay? And it was just interesting to me because the way that I was thinking of it was like the water, right? It's almost like, again, there is water all around energetically is really what that is. That's pretty much all that I can say about that. You guys are gonna have to read between the lines. You said you've almost drowned 3 times in your life. And then you said, could that be a sign or do you need just better swimming lessons? I'm curious to know. I'd have to focus on that too, like what that could be. Maybe just the swimming lessons. I wonder how that took place. You said, as for vibrational mismatch, what does it feel when the place we are in is in a much higher vibration than we are? Okay. The only way that I can explain it when something is higher vibrational or it's like a positive vibration, it's like an open energy, okay? It's a feeling. I can't really fully explain it, but it's like sometimes I enter places, like maybe you'll feel this, let's say in a place of worship sometimes, you know, it could be like a feeling of peace, just like an open energy when something is higher vibrational, okay? That's the only way that I can explain it. Just like open energetically, like almost even like the way that I see it is kind of like sparkles and like lights around the heart chakra. Like that's just kind of how it feels. And like, it's this like, it's bringing through like a higher vibrational energy, which is so interesting, right? Because you'll notice when you go into the higher vibration and then you come back down, then shadows come to the surface, basically to be purged, essentially. Oh, good. You said, thank you. Oh my God, I need to screenshot that. I literally need to screenshot that. You said, my threads are ahead, but they're so thought-provoking. Exactly, you guys. You guys, this is the thing, because here's what it is. Everything that I used to think of back in the day, everybody is catching up with now. So now everything that I think of, I just say. Okay, I just say, or I put it on my threads, and then you will see that the collective eventually will get there, okay? I mean, those people who want to, maybe not everybody, right? Because you're gonna have people who don't want to and just like are living in their own world. You said you were thinking of that with the eyeball of the world, and then you said place as their art. And then you said, ever since you met your wife, her mantra has been water heals all. Exactly, water does heal absolutely everything. You said we discuss, hold on, let me just go see if you said anything up here. You said we discussed looking out over the ocean, or we discussed looking out over the ocean last week, your wife, and you moved from the city to live on the coast of Carolina because of the magic of water. I love water. I'm trying to go to the ocean always. Like, I just love the ocean so much, and especially when it's salt water. Like, there's something specific about salt water, especially even people who live, let's say, in like coastal cities. Like, you'll see that like they're also healthier overall because like the salt water is in the air energetically too, right? So it's like they're just healthier, the air is cleaner, like it's just like more energetically purifying, I guess, when you're near water. But it doesn't just have to be an ocean, it can be really any body of water. I'm just going back up to see what you guys were saying up here. You said about Buddha. I didn't know that. You said you've had this issue energetically by accepting people's food too much. It's interesting, DJ, because I'm even seeing that for you. It's almost like they're feeding you energetically. Okay, you guys, okay, you know the vision that I'm getting? Did any of you guys watch Matilda? You know in Matilda where she like made her eat the cake or whatever? That's just like what I'm seeing. You said... Who are you talking about with the championship bodybuilders, Esperanza? I'm just back up at the top here. Thank you guys for the likes. Yes, Diana, you're awesome. You guys are so funny. You wanted to know. I'm just going back up here. You said 10th house Aquarius is the best person to direct in movies. 10th house Aquarius, I've seen them in engineers. They can be inventors. They can be tech people, fashion industry, anything that's unique, anything that is unique. Let's see. Okay, portals. Now let's talk about portals. So portals overall, okay. Let me try to explain this in a simple way, okay? In terms of portals, portals can always be created because here's the thing. Sometimes, let's say you are engaging in low vibrational behaviors or addictive, it's usually addictive types of patterns or compulsive types of behaviors or anything of that sort. If you engage in that, and I'm not trying to put fear out there, this is just my own opinion, okay? But in terms of portals, you yourself can, you know, unknowingly or inadvertently open up portals, okay? By lowering your vibration, opening up your energetic field. And one of the biggest ways to open up a portal is going to be through the climax, the O, okay? I'm gonna have to speak between the lines, but that's the thing. So it's like when people are at that heightened point, I always call this the heightened point on my lives, okay? Because I don't know what I can say on here and what I might not be able to say on here, okay? But yes, so the heightened point, that's another portal you can open, right? So it's like when people are watching certain things that are corn but start with a P, okay, replace the C with a P, you know, you get to the heightened point, and then when you're at the heightened point, you are now opening up the portal and you are now allowing whatever is on the screen, whatever entities those people have attached to them, whatever was coded, whatever magic was put in there to come out of the screen and enter your own energetic field, okay? So that's like one of the portals, right? So that's when you can do it yourself, or maybe you do it without realizing, okay, that you're opening up an energetic portal, okay? So anytime you open your energy field up, you are opening up a portal in a one way, shape, or form, okay? So it's this, and then you might have to then cleanse your energy or figure out how to close up your aura to cleanse yourself of this energy. So when people are in that vicious cycle, they're basically attaching their energy to things that aren't serving them, essentially, right? So there's that, okay? So there's that. You can also have portals opened, okay? Mirrors, yes, one of you guys are talking about mirrors. Mirrors absolutely can be portals as well, okay? It's so interesting because when I was younger, I was always afraid to look in the mirror. When I was a kid, I was afraid to look in the mirror in the bathroom in the nighttime. I always felt like something was gonna pop out of the mirror, okay? When I was a kid. So really interesting. So mirrors are absolutely portals as well, okay? Mirrors. And then you can also get portals through things that people give you. So we were speaking earlier, okay, together in terms of like the food, right? Let's say someone gives you something. So remember how I was telling you guys about the person that like, I did kind of like the remote view. I guess you can call it remote viewing. I don't really like call it, I don't know, just like whatever, but it's like in a way it is remote viewing, right? So when I was kind of looking into the person's house, right, when they asked me to do the clearing for them, I saw that book that somebody had given them, right? So someone can sometimes give you something and maybe within it, right, there can be a paper or something, and that can create a portal as well, okay? So that can also be a portal. And let's say they gave you this item and it's like, it's now bringing or like opening up a dark energy in your place that's bringing through dark energies, okay? I know people love thrifting and they love thrifting and, you know, they're trying to save the planet, but you still don't know what you are bringing into your place, right? So there's that aspect of the portal as well. You can have portals in certain areas of cities, okay? So a lot of downtown areas, okay, allegedly in my own opinion, okay, are built on portals, okay? And you will see that a lot of people and characters congregate there, right? So it's like a chicken and the egg, because a lot of the time there's already a portal there, but then people come through that are kind of pulled to that, and then they also themselves are portals, so it like amplifies the vibration. I hope that that makes sense. So there's that version of the portal, okay? A huge portal, for example, of energy, like a vortex, would be, let's say, the Cecil Hotel, okay, in Los Angeles, in my own opinion, okay? That is a type of portal. And then you will see like there's certain portals around the world where certain things happen, right? Like there could be just like a lot of dark energy in that particular area. You said downtown LA has extremely weird energy, in my opinion. Yes, it's so interesting because I like to go to places. I like to feel the energy. And when I went to Los Angeles is huge. This was a few years ago. I was with one of my friends who drives. I don't drive. So one of my friends who drives, and I asked my friend for us to drive through Skid Row because I was really, really curious because I had watched that girl, what was her name? The girl with the Cecil Hotel, like what was that girl's name who went to LA? Like there was a documentary on her on Netflix. But that girl, okay? You know, the one who went to the Cecil Hotel and it was like a whole mysterious death and like a whole true crime type of situation, okay? So ever since then, I was really curious about that hotel and I just wanted to drive by like that whole area to feel the energy. So yes, that was definitely a very interesting area, okay? That definitely was a portal of, it's like a vortex. Sometimes it feels kind of like an energetic vortex, okay, energetically. And yes, it's very, very intense. And one of you guys said in here, yes, you guys are talking about, yeah, the unhoused people, they're always in downtown areas. So there's a few reasons for that. I feel like part of the reason is there's more people coming and going. So they kind of congregate there because they have like a higher likelihood of getting money from other people. So there's that reason. But also they have like their own underground culture. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I heard from someone somewhere once, okay, that apparently if you're homeless for more than 2 years, you have a really hard time to go back into the real world, even if you have the opportunity to go back because they kind of have their own communities going on, okay? I mean, I've even seen some of them like fighting over like their space, right? Like it's like a whole underground type of society that's basically going on. You've never heard of that hotel, the Cecil. It's called Cecil Hotel. It's in Los Angeles. Really? Oh my goodness. Yes, it's a hotel. It used to be, I'm trying to remember. It had another name. I think it was like Main Street or something like that. Look it up, double check, because it used to have another name and then they like, or it happened like the other way around, or maybe it was Cecil and then they rebranded. Something happened, okay? It had another name and then it turned into one of the names and then there's something on that store, okay? So, with that being said, that particular hotel was really interesting. That's where one of those serial unalivers lived. Yeah, I don't know. It depends how sensitive you are to dark energy. Because here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. Because like I personally, it's so interesting because it's like when it comes to true crime things, again, I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. So it's like if I if I have the chance to not, you know, watch it, then I won't. Do you know what I mean? But if I somehow start watching it and then I get super interested in it and then I want to know more, then I like find out about it. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? But like ideally I wouldn't want to know about these things, but then I somehow end up finding out about them, okay? So yes, I ended up watching that. It was like a docu-series a few years ago, okay? On that girl who went to LA and then she ended up in the hotel. So that hotel was like divided. It was divided into like people who lived there, and then actually part of it was like people who were visiting. It's like a really strange vibe. Yes, definitely check it out. Definitely check it out if you're interested. You said if you experience a trauma growing up in a particular town and you don't feel the vibe, is it best to leave? It's up to you. If you feel called to leave, then leave, okay? Because the thing is, you know how people say you can't heal in the same place where, you know, like the events took place? Maybe there's like unconscious memories, right? Whether you're aware of it or not, like still in your subconscious, that could be energetically pulling you out of where it is that you're trying to go. Let's see, what are you guys saying in here? You said have that room of possessed entities in the Conjuring movies. They tell us exactly the truth in movies. I don't know that. I don't know those two people. Let me screenshot that so I can look that up later. You said, what if you can't leave? I mean, I don't think it'll hold you back fully. It's only if you feel the call. Do you know what I mean? Like if you feel the call to leave, right? Because here's the thing, right? If you leave and then you come back, because let's say you have family members there, that whole aspect is going to come up to the surface anyway. So sometimes you stay, and like by you staying there, you neutralize the energy. Do you know what I mean? So it depends. Like sometimes people have the pull to go somewhere else, and like that might help them accelerate in their growth. If you don't have the pull or you can't go, I mean, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? You said, why can't a 12 house sun die in their birth country? That's just part of the nature of the energy. 12 house sun usually leaves the country where they were born and they die abroad somewhere. It's the 12th house is the house of foreign lands, basically. Same thing with like, I'm trying to think. It's the North Node in the 4th house also does better when they move away from where they are born. You said, why do that type of hotels keep the Bible in every room? I'm not sure why they still do that. But honestly, hotels in general, to me, just have a lot of trapped energy in there. Part of the reason I feel like is because they can't open windows and you have a lot of people coming and going. And so many things take place in hotels, like not just people who are traveling, like a lot of dark things go down in hotels in general. So I don't like the energy overall of hotels. Like, depends. Like sometimes it is what it is. If you don't have anywhere else that you can, you know, find to stay, or if it's more convenient, or if you're like beside the airport, do you know what I mean? Like I get it, like why you would stay there, but overall, like they have really dark energies in there. It's like not just dark, it's like trapped. Does that make sense? Like it's like a lot of trapped energy in hotels. You said you watched that documentary on Netflix. Stop watching dark energy in the last few years. Even though you have strong Scorpio placements, you feel too sensitive towards it. Yeah, I haven't watched anything in a while. Like the most recent thing that I watched, I told you guys that story where I watched the Black Mirror, because I like to watch to see what kind of plans they have allegedly for the rest of us. So I watched Black Mirror maybe within the last 2 years or so, and it was so interesting because one of the episodes, when I was watching it, I think I told you guys, I was watching the episode and I was in my living room, and then I'm watching it and it's this like intense scene, and I'm like covering the screen like this because like sometimes it's the intense scene and like it'll be done, right? But sometimes it's like still going on, right? So it was one of those scenes that was just like really graphic, I guess, and intense. And I'm like covering the screen. You know what happened? Literally like the blinds in my room just broke. Like they fell off the wall. And I'm like, this is dark energy. I started taking out like the cleansing energy, things that I have, cleansing the energy in my space. And then I stopped watching. I watched the rest of those episodes. That one I didn't even finish, I don't think, okay? Because that one was too graphic for me. That one, but the rest of them I finished while I was like out of the house. If I watch it earlier in the day, I'm okay. But that episode I think I was watching, it was probably like the evening or something of that sort. Like it was just too intense. So anyways, the rest I ended up watching out of the house. And since then I haven't really watched anything in terms of like that type of stuff. You said you worked in different hotels. Some floors were creepy to you. Yeah, and that's another thing too. You guys will see the theme, right? Like sometimes certain floors have certain energies to them, right? It's really interesting to see. And then that's another type of portal. You said, are any portals of positive energy? Yes. Okay, absolutely. You're going to have portals with positive energy. Those are all of like I'm not sure if you guys have seen those posts where they talk about the chakras within the world. Those are positive portals, okay? So you can go to those places and you can get like positive energy downloads. Absolutely, there's positive portals. Yes. You can go to, for example, like Machu Picchu is one of them. And that's another reason. Like this is why I personally love traveling, because I love going to places to feel the energy, okay? You go to the place and you sense the energy of that particular place. So yes, you guys can look up, there was a map back in the day. I don't know how accurate that map is, right? The chakras of the world, okay? But in general, like if you guys just go for yourselves, you can go to certain places and you'll feel positive energy in those areas, okay? And light vibes and higher vibration. Because there's something called ley lines, okay? Have you guys heard of ley lines? There's ley lines, right? So certain cities are built on certain ley lines. Like if you guys notice, like a lot of major cities are on the same ley line, okay? And you guys can look that up as well, okay? So it's basically the energy lines within the earth, right? And that's how they have built a lot of things, allegedly, in my own opinion, okay? But it's called ley lines, right? It's grids around the earth that are like energy centers, right? Sedona is another high vibrational place. I liked Sedona as well. It was very crown chakra. I went to Mount Shasta too. I found it's so interesting because see, on that like map, they put Mount Shasta as the root chakra. But when I went to Mount Shasta, I went straight into my crown. That's another story. Oh my gosh, you guys want to hear that story? Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me tell you guys the story of how my experience, like my journey to Mount Shasta, okay? So to get to Mount Shasta, like I decided to take a train. So I was in LA and then I was like, okay, let me go to Mount Shasta. So to get there, I was like, okay, let me take a train. That train took 5,000 years to get there. And during that period of time, by the way, if you guys travel, there's something called an eSIM, okay, that you can download automatically into your phone. So you don't have to get a SIM card, right? So I didn't have a SIM card, I didn't have internet or anything, and they didn't have Wi-Fi. I assumed they were gonna have Wi-Fi on the train. Anyways, long story short, the train ride was 18 hours to get there, okay? So 18 hours to get there from LA to Mount Shasta. Not only that, then you get to that city, I can't remember the name of the city, starts with a D, okay? You get to the city, and then out of the city, you have to take a taxi, because back then they didn't have Ubers, okay? I don't know if they do now, but then they didn't, okay? To get to actually Mount Shasta, okay? And whatever, I got to Mount Shasta, I was like, this is so crown chakra. It was crown chakra. Hey, Riley, how are you doing? It was like crown chakra nation. I was like, wow. I'm like, I thought I was in my crown chakra. Yes, Gabriella gave a good list of places, okay, that are high vibrational, okay? So I was like, oh my gosh, this is like crown chakra nation. I was so confused because I'm like, isn't this supposed to be the root chakra? To me, it felt like crown. Like, I'm like, everyone here is so crowny, like, wow, okay? So anyways, it was nice while I was there. Like the experience was fine and it was very, very like crown chakra-esque and I met a lot of cool people and whatever, right? So here's the thing in that city. Again, to come back, I wanted to take the train again, okay? And at that point I was going to Sacramento. So I was going to take the train from that city that starts with a D. Now I can't remember what it's called. But anyways, okay? From that city, so Mount Shasta, you get to the city and then you're waiting at the train station and then the train comes and you're supposed to, and like I was going to Sacramento, okay? Long story short, what ended up happening was what ended up happening was because that city did not, high vibe tribe. You guys are high vibe. Hey, how are you guys doing? Okay, so to get to the train station, they only had like a limit, okay, on like when the taxis were running, okay? So I think the last taxi was maybe 1 a.m. I can't remember exactly now, okay? Don't quote me on it, but it was something like this, like 1 a.m. maybe was the last taxi. And then the next one was gonna be 6 a.m., okay? And by the way, this train station, okay, first of all, like it's literally like maybe even like in the movies, like the train station isn't like a big one. Like there's like a little cabin type of house going on, okay? There's a few like, let's say bars or whatever, like taking place close to the train station. There's a little parking lot, okay? And then there's literally the tracks, okay? So that's the train station. It's not like a big train station, it's this, okay? So the last train was gonna be at, I think, 1 a.m., something like that. And then the last taxi was at 1 a.m. And then the next one would have been probably at 6 a.m. So they have that window where they're not driving anymore, okay? So tell me how, and it's so wild, again, another intuitive type of situation. The whole time I had anxiety that entire day and I kept checking the train and long story short, the train was delayed, okay? I can't remember the name. I'd have to double check the name of the city. Anyways, and the train ends up being delayed. So I get there for 1, the train isn't supposed to come maybe until 4 a.m. or something like that, like it's delayed. I get there, there's some unhoused person sleeping on the bench, okay, but I'm like, whatever, they're not awake, so it's fine. And then there's this other person there, okay? This other person who was also very much in the crown. I don't know if this person was on psychedelics, it was an older person, okay? And this person started telling me their whole life story, okay? Now I can't remember all the details because I like blocked it out of my memory, but they're telling me the whole life story and I'm like, what's going on here? They're telling me so many things, okay, that are super crown chakra related, but you know the type of crown chakra content that's not flowing. Anyways, so I'm like, okay. And then it just got to the point where that person just started becoming like kind of strange and like bad news bearer. So I was like, okay, I pretended to get a phone call. And literally what I did was like, I can't listen to this person anymore. So I was like, okay, I'll be right back. I'm just going over there. So I literally went with my suitcase because I had a suitcase then when I was there. I went between two cars and I like hid there, okay? I literally hid there away from this person, okay? Just like crouching down. Thank God I downloaded Netflix on my phone because I didn't have internet again. I had like texting, but I didn't have internet, okay? Thank God I had something to watch, okay? So I'm watching and I'm hiding and I'm chilling there and like I kind of would peek out and see what's going on and like that person's like checking and like looking around. I'm like, I can't deal with this situation right now. I'm like, this is just like too much, okay? Then I was there and people started coming, right? Because the people who had cars and maybe live in the area and know or whatever, they knew that the train was going to be delayed. So long story short, it was a blessing because the train came. I didn't have to deal with that person anymore, but yes. And then I just like slept on the train. You said... I'm dying at your comments. You said, but in every friend group, you always come up with nicknames. Stop, I do nicknames too. Yes, okay, the group, I need to gather the names, the group names. We had a few that I really, really liked. I'm just checking what you guys were saying in here. You said you've heard you're in Phoenix. Oh yeah, you were in Phoenix. Okay, when I went to Phoenix, you said, Sedona, you can feel the energy. Scorpio moon becomes the Phoenix. Is that what I've heard me mention? Yeah, so Scorpio goes through the phases, right? So first, like people are going to tell you, some people are going to tell you there's 7 types of animals. Other people are going to tell you there's 3 types of animals, okay? For like the Scorpio like transition, right? I just do the 3. So you have the little Scorpio where you have the stinger, okay? That's kind of when you're in your lowest form. You're super protective of yourself, stinging people left, right, and center, vengeful, all the things, okay? Then you have the ego where you're kind of seeing things from a higher perspective, okay? You're kind of going through the awakening process. And then the final state is the Phoenix rising, right? That's when you are the alchemist and so on and so forth. So it's nice that you live in Phoenix. I went to Phoenix. That same trip when I went to Sedona, I was also in Phoenix. And to me, Phoenix felt kind of like a ghost town. Like when I was there, I was like, where is everybody? Maybe it was too hot for everybody to be out. But yeah, it kind of felt like nobody was around. And I also went to Vegas. Going to Vegas was definitely like, oh my goodness, like a lot of flashing lights everywhere. You said, any thoughts on metaphysical properties of dried flowers? That's a very interesting question. I mean, wouldn't they turn into herbs and then potentially be healing? Just the first thing that I thought of, I'm not sure. You said your ego wants to fight demons. Literally, when you were younger, you'd stand in a fight stance and try to call them out. They're scary little bees. Good for you. You said they are trapped, looking to trap, keeping it all trapped. Probably the energy that we were speaking about earlier with the hotels. You said, how would a 4th and 8th house sun die? Where would it be similar to the 4th house or to the 12th house sun? I'm not actually sure, actually. But the 4th and the 8th house sun. You said, what do I say about North Node Taurus conjunct Lilith Aries in the 11th house of Aries? So part of your life purpose deals with some sort of change and transformation of the self. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. I'm just going back up. You said, what do I think of interior design and vibes, like the art of a cafe and home affecting the vibe? Absolutely. I do believe in like kind of like feng shui, I guess is what you're getting at. You said downtowns are life. I just want to go. There's thousands of people walking so you can film them asking what their astrology signs are. That's another theory that I have. If you guys are new here, another theory that I have is a lot of people who don't have homes or who are living in that type of lifestyle, okay? I believe, at least is my theory, maybe, again, this is a theory, we'd have to go off and ask all of them, but I think a lot of them are 12th house people, actually. Now, that being said, doesn't mean 12th house people are gonna not have homes. It doesn't mean that. It's just, I think a lot of them is connected to trauma. It's connected to sometimes substances, because the 12th house in the shadow, okay? And then sometimes also like not fitting into societal, right? The way of living in society. And another thing that I think about sometimes also with people who like don't live in houses, okay, I'm speaking between the lines here a little bit in code, like, you know, it wasn't too far back in the timeline in terms of history that, you know, we were living with the land. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that far away. So sometimes I think that those people are like maybe more connected to that in one way, shape, or form as well. Like, it's a lot of things, but yes, a lot of things that I feel like are connected to the 12th house. And then you said, you think water with port/portal. Yes, oh my gosh, I like that, exactly, because there's always ports. That's true. And then you said, and also technology port. And then you said, think about how the physical body flows in attachment with hormones. And then you said from that, oh yes. Okay, I'm going back down now to see what were you guys saying at the bottom. You said it was too hot. Yeah, the people were probably inside the house when I went. It was definitely hot, but I love the heat, so I'm just like always out and about. You guys are so funny. Oh my gosh, as friends, I need to screenshot that. You guys are comedians. You said Crouching Barbara, hidden Netflix. Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. Literally, that's literally what happened. Oh my gosh, I have stories for days. Days and days and days. No, we never decided the name yet. I need to gather. Okay, so this is what I was saying in the earlier part of this live. I only have limited options for the poll. Okay, so I'll pick like the top few names and then you guys can decide. Maybe we should do that this week. Or maybe, yes, it's the beginning of the week. In my head, I was like, wait, is it Friday? No, okay, we still have time. You said, speaking of heights, does anyone else here being outdoors in high places, you loved cleaning the gutters in one of your houses because you love to sit on the roof and look around? Nice. I haven't been to Joshua Tree. I wanted to go, but I wasn't able to find people. Again, I don't drive, so I always have to find someone who drives or like figure out like an alternative mode of transportation. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. You said, so can you simply use energy clearing techniques to eradicate the negative energies? Absolutely, within EFs, you can, you guys, it can be prayer or some form of prayer to elevate the energy. You guys can cleanse the energy maybe with certain herbs, or like what I use sometimes, like I have different things that I use for cleansing energy. I always do a big cleanse, and the big cleanse that I have is, I guess it would translate to frankincense. Like it's actually from the church. It's this like little piece of coal, and then on the coal you put like these little pieces of, I guess it would translate to frankincense. Like it smells like what it smells like in a church. Okay, so that I do once a week. Like that's my major cleansing, but every day at the end of the day, I am cleansing the energy basically. Okay. And like, again, because people are portals, like let's say for example, you guys are dating someone and you guys are trying to elevate your vibration, and let's say that person is stuck in their, like the thing is entities can also work through people, right? And that's usually how they try to get at people, unfortunately, right? So it's like, let's say you're dating someone and that person is, you know, has bad habits or certain tendencies where they're opening up their own energy field all the time. Well, then through their energy field, the dark energy can come at you too, right? So it's tricky, but those are all things that can take place. You said that makes sense. You're a 12th house and you feel best when you're in nature. Yes, that's a 12th house person type of thing. You said you don't like anything dead in your house. You don't know why. Flowers start to wilt. Yeah, oh my gosh. I remember when I found out that like the flowers that you buy at the store, or the flowers that you get, like the ones that aren't like actually in a pot, not like my bae, but like actually like flowers that, you know, you get, you know which ones I'm talking about, right? Someone gives you flowers or whatever, that those ones are dead. I was thinking about that once and I was like, oh my goodness, like it's already dead. Like you put it in water and then it's alive for a little bit longer. But yeah, I remember when I found that out. You said you forgot. Oh yes, okay, another place. Thank you, Gabriella, for listing all the high vibrational places. I've traveled a lot to a lot of different places. I'll tell you guys, just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I am back. Okay, I'll tell you guys the places that I liked vibrationally, okay? Sedona, I had a really nice time. So Sedona, I liked a lot. Mount Shasta, I was neutral about because Mount Shasta I found to be very crown chakra vibes, okay? And at that point in time, I was kind of over being overly in my crown, if that makes sense. So it felt like too much. So I don't know what it would be like now, okay? I loved Machu Picchu a lot. I love hiking. So anything up, like I love mountain places. So when I went to Costa Rica, I liked Monte Verde a lot, okay? I liked it there a lot, okay? Very high vibrational, I find, okay? Because also in the mountains, there isn't a lot of people, right? So it's like high vibrational. I'm trying to think where else that I like the energy that I've been to. Dubai felt artificial to me energetically, so it felt very fake energetically, and it is literally an artificially created place, so I didn't feel much energy there, right, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to think where else. I liked Rio de Janeiro a lot. Rio de Janeiro was actually one of my favorite places too. You're saying out loud something about hearing yourself say the words of it. The entity thing is so true. It is. You said these are the ones that you've been to. Okay, so Gabriella says southern tip of Macau, Lugano. Ooh, interesting. Okay, let me screenshot those. Yes, I went to Ireland too. Okay, so I went to Ireland also. I'm trying to think what it was called. The coast of Ireland I liked a lot, but it was raining the entire time. I'm not like a major city. Like I like visiting the major cities, but I don't necessarily find them like the highest vibrational places. Like I like a lot of cities that I've traveled to, but I'm talking more so about places that I've gone to that felt very like energetically like clear. I'm trying to think of a lot of places that still somehow like are able to maintain like the roots of the land. I find to be very, very high vibrational places. You said you have a debilitated Venus, Virgo, and then you said it's in your 7th house. What does that mean? Okay, you have Venus and Virgo. Can you tell me though, Annie, if you're still in the room, do you have any other aspects to your Virgo, or sorry, to your Venus, okay? Do you have other aspects that could balance that out? Because the thing is, when you have Venus and Virgo, you can be critical of your partners or your partners can be critical of you. You got it, DJ. Yes, good guess. Absolutely. Okay, so tell me, do you have aspects to your Venus or even aspects to your 7th house? And can you tell me what sign do you have in your 7th house? Because I think you said here, I'm just going back up to find your message. You said Venus and Virgo and it's in your 7th house. Do you have Virgo in your 7th house overall? You said that's interesting about Dubai. You said, you know, they put water underneath it to cool it. It felt very energetically like new is basically what that is. You said Saturn aspects your 7th house. Oh, interesting. So that's usually like you're looking for like serious long-term committed relationships. Can you tell me what sign do you have in your 7th house overall? If you're still here. I'm trying to think because Venus and Virgo is a struggle. It absolutely is a struggle because you're going to be critical. Oh, that's also Virgo. So you have double Virgo. So here's the thing, okay? When you have Venus and Virgo in your 7th house, it's going to be important to not try to fix people. Like this energy basically looks for people to fix, okay? Or you see the potential in someone and you're trying to fix that person. I hope that makes sense, okay? So try not to feed into that energy. And this energy looks for perfection. That's why they're trying to fix people, because they're trying to basically create perfection within another person. And then you can see like where that person could go and you can see who they could be. And then you're trying to push them in that direction, but it's like, it's wasting your life force energy and then their life force energy as well. Not their life force energy, but it's like, it's not wasting their life force energy, but it's like you're trying to change them. Like you should, when you have that energy in your chart, like you kind of want to take people at face value instead of look for projects energetically. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just going back up to see what else you guys are saying in here. You said, can I feel the energy of people through online? Also, yes, I can. I can. Let's see what else you guys saying. I like that name, High Vibe Tribe. Okay, I'm going to add that one to the list. I'm trying to think. We had a few. I'm going to have to go through my screenshots and see what they were. Hopefully I didn't delete them because I have the habit of screenshotting things and then clearing out my phone. And that's one thing that I like that somebody else taught me. They told me to put a heart, like favor the picture so you don't delete it, because I have the habit of screenshotting things and then deleting them. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I delete it? So hopefully I didn't delete those. If I did, I'm going to have to ask you guys again. One of the ones that I remember was Astro Besties, Crown Town Community was another one. Oh, one of them was Astral Talks, because the channel is called Barbara Talks. So it was like Astral Talks. So there was that one. I'm back. You said you have rewatched my metaphysical videos and you have really tried to incorporate and healed yourself, but so many truths in that video you weren't open to in the first viewing. I know, most people aren't. Most people aren't, because it's like, I don't know how to explain it, because here's the thing, it takes a while to like process that information. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's crown chakra. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it'll be a hit to the ego at first, essentially, right? But it's like, if anything, the seed gets planted and then, you know, it comes into the awareness later on. That's the way that I see it. It's like seed planting, those videos, okay? It's like the seed gets planted. You might not resonate with it right away. And then later on, you'll be like, oh, that makes sense. That's the way that I see it. One of you guys said iconic scene. I don't remember what we were talking about then. One of you guys said you're heavily being called to the water right now. Yeah, probably because like the collective is just like wilding out right now. Like they're all wilding out, the collective. You said, one second, I'm just going back up. You said that is annoying to have an understanding or a feeling and not be able to pinpoint it or prove it or whatever. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's like what the basis of this earth plane has been. People being like, okay, well, prove it. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to say. I can't really say anything at that point. You said someone asked, it's like a faith-based thing. You said someone asked a question about being a chosen one. Is that a reality? Or do I think many people are called and few to answer? I think everyone is a chosen one if they choose to take that path. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing, in the spiritual community, there is the spiritual ego, right? So a lot of people, when they first awaken, they're going to go into the spiritual ego because they think they discover something, they think they're special. But I think all humans are special, right? It's just a matter of coming into your power. And that's also what this video partly was about, right? At the beginning of it, where I talked about the energetic sovereignty, okay? Because it's like, I just see that as just like an ego thing. It's like, why are you the chosen one and then the other people aren't? You know what I mean? Just because you learned some sort of truth before other people, like, I don't know. You know, so I get it. Like, I hear that a lot, and that's a huge thing within the spiritual community. But it's like, I think everybody can be in that energy if they choose to, if that makes sense. I'm just going back up. You said you're still confused. You're still confused on the difference between how the 8th house and the 12th house plays out, but the 4th house. Okay. So you're confused between the difference between the 8th house, the 12th house, and the 4th house. You said inner emotion, security. So all those houses, okay, are connected to generational things in one way, shape, or form. Like, if you have a lot of 4th house energy, you're clearing through a lot of things to do with the home, for example, okay? 8th house could be secrets connected to the home, okay? And then the 12th house is like hidden things as well. Like, definitely things that are, let's say, hidden within. It's like all things connected to like generational healing in one way, shape, or form, okay? I hope that makes sense. So the 4th house is your home, okay? It's going to be your immediate home. So if you have a lot of 4th house energy, you're clearing things directly connected to the home, for example, okay? The 8th house, like, these energies are still, you're clearing shadows. Like, all these energies are clearing some sort of shadow, maybe generational things, generational patterns. But with the 8th house, it could be hidden things. It could be addictions. It could be, let's say, for example, like, you know, maybe you're the medium. One of you guys asked about mediumship, right? Maybe, you know, mediumship traveled within your family line and then it got to you, right? So it could be this, and then you're the one to express it. So it could be this, okay? Maybe you bring through secrets, for example, and you bring those things to the surface, like family secrets or things that were like hidden, for example, okay? Nobody talked about, let's say it was addictions or whatever. 12th house is a lot, okay? Because 12th house, you're now clearing so much, okay? Because it's also past life things, for example, and all these types of things, okay? With the 12th house. So you're clearing through a lot with the 12th house energy as well. So in one way, shape, or form, it's all some sort of healing, clearing energy, clearing things within the home, connected to the family line, generational things, like these types of things, okay? You said the spiritual ego being like that is like a declaration of the fact that they don't get it, right? That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, because it's like, and that's the thing that would annoy me, okay? In terms of people who are, let's say within, let's say certain spiritual groups, because then they think they have to dress a certain way and they have to talk a certain way. Okay, for example, one time someone commented way back, okay, and they were like, astrology is supposed to sound like a meditation. And I'm like, where did you get that from? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's that spiritual ego, okay? It's like, what do you mean it has to sound like a meditation? Sometimes when people are talking in that voice and everything is calm, like, to me, it's like a hypnosis. Like, it kind of sounds like you're trying to hypnotize people. Like, I don't know, it doesn't sound, like, that's not how you talk in your everyday life. Do you know what I mean? So it's like things like this that are connected to the spiritual ego, because it's like, okay, the way that it works is like, okay, we're in the 3D, right? The 3rd dimensional realm. When you have your spiritual awakening, you start going through the 4th dimensional realm. So in the 4th dimensional realm, you take some spiritual concepts, but you're applying them still in a 3D way, okay? So you're looking at things like more literally versus metaphysically. I hope that that makes sense, okay? So it's like, again, these are all things where people are like, you should dress this type of way, you should talk this type of way, you should act this type of way, you know, this person's a spiritual healer, where at the end of the day, like, I think all humans are healers. Like, if you look at the clock app, okay, and again, I'm speaking between the code, right? The clock app has been so healing for so many people because so many people on there are speaking their truth, right? It's not just someone who went through a healing journey and they're now living in isolation somewhere in a mountain. Like, maybe that's somebody's path, but that's not everybody's path. Like, that's not the pinnacle, for example, or like the, you know, picture or whatever of being a spiritual person. Sometimes being a spiritual person is you overcome something or you had a struggle and then you're talking about that, for example, okay? Yeah, exactly. You guys are funny. So it's this, right? So that's like what it is. Like, all humans are healers and all humans are spiritual. Like, people are having a spiritual experience down here and everyone is at a different point, right? So it's like, it's really interesting to see, because I've seen more ego and I've seen more narcissism within the spiritual communities, okay? compared to, let's say, the everyday people. So then after a while, I was like, I'm over this, like whatever's going on here. Because also like a lot of them too energetically, like when you're in that dimension, like the fourth dimension, so you're like taking spiritual concepts and you're applying it still in a third dimensional way, right? A lot of them are very like energetically subdued, which I think is also another trap of like the MATRX, okay? Because like I find the whole spiritual community, and like, again, this isn't obviously everybody because there's different communities. I'm speaking on the ones that I was exposed to when I was like in the spiritual community, right? And this is like more so in the physical reality, right? So it's like a lot of them are like energetically subdued. Like they're kind of like, oh, like if we all just meditate together and do this and do that, like it's subduing, like you're not acting on making changes. You're just kind of like chilling. Do you know what I mean? And I don't see that as you making a change in this world. You know what I mean? Let's raise the vibrations together. Let's all hold hands. Like the idea and the sentiment is great and I'm glad that it's there. But at the same time, it's like there needs to be action that's taken. Do you know what I mean? If there's something that you don't like doing in the physical realm, then you have to not do that. Do you know what I mean? Do that thing. Like, anyways, whatever. So that's my story about that. That is my story about that. And you guys are talking. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people. Yeah, I agree with you, Psychic Dashton. So there's a lot, like there's a lot of interesting people and interesting characters. And like, I like to listen sometimes to people to see like what their perception is on things. And it's so fascinating to me to see sometimes people are psychic, but again, we're tying this back to what we were talking about earlier in this video as well. Like people have biases, right? So it's like sometimes people are going to make a prediction, but they fully put their biased opinion into that. And then it's like, you're not able to differentiate, okay, between your opinion on something and maybe what you want to happen versus what's actually happening. And then you have a whole other group that's like fear mongering and like preaching like the most intense thing. So it's like, it's really interesting to see. It's really interesting to see. But anyways, after you go through that group, right, the fourth dimensional energy, which everybody does, right? Because when you're awakening, you're going through the vibrations, right? And the reason I know is because I knew these people. I was there once too, right? So then you get out of that energy, okay, and then you go into the higher vibrations, which is like the fifth dimension and above, obviously, right? But you go into the higher vibrations where you're not going to see things from a metaphysical perspective. You understand things, you know, as theories, right? If you look at like theological texts and things that they're explaining, you understand that they were explaining things in a theory type of way, like in a metaphysical type of way. They're not talking about things being literally, okay? Thank you, concerned. I mean, it is what it is, right? Everyone's on a different like wavelength, or like they're on a different path is really what that is, right? So they're having their experience and that's the experience that they're having. You want to get out of that experience, right? Because it's like, it's so interesting because then you also have like the other subset of the community. You also have like the other subset of the community who are just like in a forest, like doing drugs all day. Like that's what it is. Like you're literally in a forest doing drugs all day. And it's like, it's a form of escapism. Like that's what it's like. It's a form of escapism. It gets you into the higher vibrations. And then you have people who like don't integrate the information that they receive, and then they're competing and they're like, how many ceremonies did you do? And how many ceremonies did you do? And it's like, are you even getting it? Like, are you even getting what's happening here? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's just so much going on. You said you're behind in the life. You said you always said Dubai felt fake and weird to you. Yes, energetically, it's very artificial. And again, that's just my own opinion. But it is literally, they made it, right? Literally, they made it like it's made, right? So there's that. And then also, I feel like, in my own opinion, I feel like it's a huge hub. This is just my own opinion, allegedly, okay? I feel like that area is a huge hub for, how could I put this? You know, like the word traffic, lights, traffic, okay? People, lights. I hope you guys catch my drift, okay? So I feel like a lot of that goes down in that area, in my own opinion. So there's that too. And that's more like for like a geopolitical reason, just because it's like closer to like the center of the world. You said, yes, it's more opposites as far as church. Yeah, it's really interesting because you have people who were like religious and then like that was falling apart. So then it's like, they were like, okay, how can we siphon people's energy? So then they put them into the realm of spirituality and especially the new age. And it's like, here's the thing, there's two truths and a lie and everything. Like in new age, like there's some topics and concepts that are true, but you have to have the discernment to see what is true and what is not true is basically what that is, okay? Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, Psychic Dash, and you just get it. You said you have to be sober. Raw is better for psychic abilities. Exactly, because then you close your energy field. If you do anything, and I just saw someone pop up on my feed and they were talking about a certain type of psychedelic plant medicine thing. And I was thinking how people who are in that world, like in that specific, because like even those items have their own vibration as well, right? So it's like you open yourself up energetically. And like when you open yourself up energetically, you're going into the astral realm. And a lot of people like they come back down. And, you know, a lot of people are doing these things now, and like the energy, like the area that they're in, they're not protecting it energetically. Because back in the day when they used to do certain things, there would be, let's say, a shaman, and the whole point of the shaman was to energetically protect the space. Now you have like Bob from down the street deciding that Bob wants to be a shaman, for example, but like, you know, the whole point of the shaman was to energetically protect the space. So like dark entities can't come through when you are out of the body, right? So now everybody's doing it left, right, and center, all these things. And it's like you're leaving your body, and as you're out of your body, dark energies are coming through and entering your body. And this isn't like a fear thing. That's just anytime you do any substance, you're opening yourself up to dark energies. Yes, meditation. Okay, let me go back up. I saw one of you guys up here. Exactly. Psychic Delton said, drugs do not help psychic abilities. No, they don't, okay? If anything, they force you out of your body even more, and they open you up even more. So you want to close your energetic field. I have a video on here called How to Stay Grounded as a 12th house person. Even if you're not a 12th house person, check out that video, okay? And then I have another video too called How Entities Attach. That's all in my metaphysical playlist, okay? All these things, especially when it becomes mainstream, they are tricks of the matrix, okay? matrix, right? What's in matrix? Tricks. The word tricks is in there, okay? So that being said, it's like they're all tricks to get you to leave your body. When you leave your body, you're out of your vessel, and then you're singing Kumbaya like in a corner somewhere, and you're not doing anything because you're in the high vibes. Like, it's a way to subdue people, unfortunately, right? And keep you out of body, and again, keep you like from doing what it is that you're trying to do down here. That's just the way that I see it. You said, what about if I say everyone can, what about if I say everyone can benefit from doing 30 seconds of deep breathing per day? Or are you just asking in general, like, what's my opinion on that? Everybody can benefit. Here's the thing. This is the way that I see it, you guys, okay? All these like tactics, okay, and techniques, you want to use them to get to that point so you know what it's like to be in that vibe, okay? So for example, let me give you guys an example. When I worked corporate, right, and my day-to-day was so intense and it was so like rushed and all these things, right? You know, I would go to yoga in the evenings, and that would be a nice time for me to like basically energetically relax, right? Or just like go into the higher vibrations because I was so busy throughout the day, right? Now, for example, other than sometimes going to yoga for like stretching, okay, I don't really go to yoga for like a meditation type of thing, because it's like now I already know what it's like to be in that energy. Like I'm not in this energy of just like super busy all the time or whatever, where it's like I feel the need to go into that energy, right? I hope that makes sense. So it's like, you know, you learn what it's like, you know, you keep doing it until you get to that point where it's like, okay, this is what it feels like. I know what it feels like, and it might not serve you anymore at that point because you already know what it's like. I hope that makes sense, okay? So if you're just starting out on your journey, absolutely could be beneficial, right? But the whole point of all of these tactics or like whatever techniques is to try to get to that point, right, where you're always in that energy at all times. I hope that makes sense, okay? You said, and also another thing for meditation, you guys, yes, you can have like the deep breathing meditation, you can have the lying down meditation, you can have a walking meditation, you can have a dancing meditation, a gym meditation, cooking meditation, okay? All these things. So there's different types of meditations. It depends on your body, right? Again, if you're super stressed and you're busy all the time, right, throughout your day, well, then doing something that helps you slow down, like yoga or meditation or whatever, right, something in that realm, that's going to help you get into a meditative state, right? If you're already in that energy, right, then, you know, maybe walking's gonna help, right? Maybe you have a lot of energy. Maybe you're someone who's really hyper. Well, then when you're walking, listening to music helps you get into those higher vibrations as well. So it depends, okay? You said we have so many additives in our FOOD sources, as I mentioned in the past few live videos. Isn't that a way? It is. It is. Absolutely. It's a way. I personally think, if you guys ask me, okay, I think that human, like at this point in time, especially like in the Western countries, I can't speak on all of them because I don't live everywhere in the world, right? But I've traveled to a lot of places. Everywhere else has cleaner food, okay, than the Western place does or do, in my own opinion, okay? Just from eating it and feeling it. I can't confirm that. It's just like how it feels to me. It feels cleaner and it feels more real, okay? First of all. Second of all, I think that in general, like over here, we eat too much, in my own opinion. Like, it's just like food is like a social activity, if that makes sense. So it's like there's a connection, right? Oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Let's go out to eat. Let's go to dinner, you know, or let's eat and then go to this event. Like there's always like a food thing going on, right? So in general, I think we do eat more. The thing is, food does help you ground, okay? Food does help you ground. Obviously, you need the nutrition and all of that. Exactly. So one of you guys said you feel the difference in the food when you travel. You will tell, like when you guys travel, you will see that it tastes different in different places, right? So I really don't know what to say, because it's a struggle. Is trying to find, like, if you guys are somewhere where you guys do have a certain situation going on with the food, right? Allegedly. Well, in that case, you have to see how can you try to eat as clean as possible, right? Especially fast food. And don't even get me started on the meat. That's a whole different conversation. I don't eat meat, but yes, the meat is definitely questionable out in the streets, okay? You said deep breathing to ground. Absolutely, okay? So anything that helps you connect, because like also, for example, let's say you do walking. The walking helps you connect, right? Because you're like connecting both sides of your body, okay? So sometimes that could be a way to process information as well. So it depends, because everybody is built differently. Some people can sit in a chair and look at the ground for like 20 hours, and that's like their form of meditation, for example, okay? It was so interesting. It was so interesting. I actually went to a meditation class the other day. I was not able to sit through the entire thing, but I went to a meditation class the other day, and it was basically like supposed to be like a sitting meditation. And I was like, it was so interesting, because in my head I was thinking, and I was like, I was so into all of this stuff back in the day, right? But then I realized in my head that basically back in the day, and maybe people who go into like the yogi realm, or again 12 house people, right, might be very interested in these things, especially like, you know, when they don't have, let's say, either direction or they don't have guidance. Like, it helps you create a structure, right? It helps you create discipline. Like, I've noticed a lot of the time, because 12 house is very vast, these people can struggle with discipline, right? So they end up going into these realms that are maybe like, you know, they do yoga all the time, because in one of the theological texts, actually, they basically talk about how you can achieve enlightenment through, you know, doing the same action all the time, or like through discipline. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say having a routine or something of the sort, right? You can achieve enlightenment in this way. And I was thinking about how yogis a lot of the time, for example, or anything, it could be like meditation classes and these types of things, help people who are not disciplined achieve discipline, right? By going to the class all the time. And it's like, that's part of it, right? Sometimes you'll see, a lot of the time, actually, probably there are going to be 12 house people in there. You said you were in a very stressful profession, but you were not very good at relaxing. You wanted to tell everyone about one of your most relaxing experiences. You fell asleep floating on the ocean on a raft. Oh, very nice. Oh my gosh. There's also float tanks. Have you guys heard of those? There's float tanks that you guys can go to as well. It's like water, and then you close yourself in that thing. Kind of gives you like that floating experience. You said you taste the difference mainly in meat. Yeah, I don't eat meat, so yes, it's definitely questionable. That's all I can say about that. I don't trust it. And I also don't trust like beyond the meat, like the fake meats. I don't trust that either, okay? None of that. You said same thing for Italy. You said the same for Italy. That's more relaxing. Yeah, exactly. It's also a different type of lifestyle there as well. A rabbit hole. It is a rabbit hole. You said bring down our energy. Yeah, that's what it is there, especially fast food, because even if you look at the vibration behind the food, it is fast, right? And you'll taste that in food sometimes too. And that's why also when sometimes when someone cooks something and they give you that thing, it can be like shady, right? Because they could have put like a dark intention into that particular thing. You have 0 time for project people. Yes. And then you said you're almost in the opposite direction. Venus and Mars in Virgo in the 10th house. Yes. See, here's the thing. The natal chart is something I find that you should transcend. Okay. It's something that you want to see where could be the weaknesses, where could be the soft spots, where could be the struggles, and how can you transcend that? You said some of this mysticism may be a hit to the ego, but you truly believe most of us here have known this our entire lives. Exactly. It's at the back of your mind. And then you said it's at the back of your minds. Exactly. Because of the fact that truth resonates. Do you know what I mean? So that's why sometimes even like the everyday type of person, like they might not consciously register it in the moment, right? Let's say you say it to them, but it will come up at a later time, basically. You said exactly what I am saying. You're saying what Barbara is saying. What I am saying is choose yourself to do what we all kind of can, but you choose to do it yourselves. Being psychic for you, you choose to do it every time from scratch with each stranger. You said the spiritual ego. Okay, we talked about that. Let me go back down now and see what you guys are saying down here. You say you can exactly the love. You said you can taste the love or lack thereof in food. That's what I was getting at. That's exactly what I was getting at. You can literally taste when someone makes something with love. And it's not just like, you know, it doesn't just have to be like, you know, they have love for you and they made it. It can just be someone who really enjoys cooking. It literally tastes better, okay? For example, when I go to my grandma's and my grandma makes me coffee, it's the same way that we all make the coffee, okay? It's Turkish coffee, but it tastes so good. It tastes so good, okay? So it depends how the person makes it. Like, what is the intention? Like, you know, do they feel like they have to do it, right? And then fast food is like, one and done, one and done, one and done. So you're like taking in that vibration. Do you know what I mean? How do you heal the fourth house? Pluto, Mercury, Saturn, Lilith. Do you have to go to your ancestors' location, home to heal? Again, if you feel called to go, go, okay? If you don't have to, right? You don't have to go there, right? Because the thing is like, what I've learned with time too, is like, you don't physically have to go. I mean, it's up to you, right? Because like I mentioned, I like to go to places to feel the vibration, right? But through all of that, what I've learned is like, you can also like try to feel what it's like in your mind's eye as well. For example, let's say you can't visit a certain place, right? So you don't have to unless you feel called to, right? So it's up to you if you want to go to that place to see, to feel the energy and to feel the vibration, for example, okay? Now, in terms of healing the fourth house, you have Pluto in the fourth, which gives you the undertone of having a Scorpio moon. It has a tumultuous upbringing. Saturn in the fourth, absence of a father figure, or the roles are reversed with the parents, or you were raised by grandparents, or in general, a lot of responsibility around the home, okay? And then Mercury in the fourth house is going to be, sometimes you really care what the home thinks, what the family thinks with Mercury in the fourth house. And then Lilith in the fourth house can just be shadows overall around the home, okay? So just like a lot of shadow work to do with the home. And here's the thing, have you guys ever heard that quote? Like, if you want to see how much have you healed, go back and spend a day with your family, and then you'll see how far you've come, right? Because again, that's another thing connected to like bypassing sometimes, right? Sometimes people think if they remove themselves from a situation, obviously if a situation is toxic, right? Like, don't get me wrong here, okay? If a situation is toxic, like do what you can in that type of situation, right? To exit or try to exit, right? But like sometimes, let's say you're trying to work on something or you're trying to work on a relationship or whatever it is, you'll see how far you've come when you go back, right? And engage with those individuals to see if there's things there that are still upsetting you or bothering you. You said your sun is at 29 degrees Libra. Is it going to the, I'd have to look. Thank you, DJ. I hope you're well. And thank you so much for all of your super chats today. Thank you. Okay, Esperance, I'd have to look on like the progress chart to see which house is it going into. Because I've noticed sometimes it goes forward and sometimes like strange times it goes backward too. So I'd have to check to see where is it going. Wow, that was your 20th super chat. Oh my gosh, thank you. Okay, you guys, if you want your own natal chart reading, so natal chart reading, progress natal chart reading, synastry reading, okay, those are the full length readings, or if you want a mini natal chart reading, send me an email, you guys. An email window should pop up. You guys can decide, okay, which email or like which reading you want. You select the reading and email window pops up, okay? When you guys send me an email, I'll give you all the information, the turnaround time and all of that, okay? And we'll go from there. If you guys are interested in getting your own readings, okay? And then I have other things available now too. So now I have updated my services, okay? So I have the readings. I have the one question reading as well. If it's something longer that I can't quickly respond to in a live, for example, you guys can send me an email for that. Then I also have the follow-ups. So if you've ever done, let's say, any of the longer readings, the in-depth readings, okay, you guys can either do a 30-minute follow-up or you guys can do a 1 hour follow-up, okay? And then we'll chat. Like, that's not a reading, but unless you guys have questions. So I have to have done your reading first in order to do that meeting where we go over your chart even more. Okay, let's say there's something more you want to talk about, more questions. And it's something, again, I can't, let's say, respond in like an email, right? Let's say it's something you want to know more in depth, right? Because you guys can always email me, but if it's something that requires more information, right, and talking and discussing, okay, you guys can select that and we can go from there. And then I always have business guidance if you guys are interested in starting your own business, okay? Or if you already started your own business and you have questions about your own business, I have the business guidance as well. And that's all on my website, okay? You said makes sense because that's why you only like to cook for who you want to and when you want to know to go plate. And then you want to experience it while you experience it. I like that. You said in the last live, I discussed how Scorpios could have likely been magicians in a past life. And you said you assume that I use magician and sorcerer interchangeably. They're picky definitions. Yeah, magician, it could have been a positive magician or a shadow magician. Sometimes I think to myself, right? And it's just my own opinion. This is just like from like observing. Sometimes I think to myself and I feel like they could have been shadow types of magicians where they did dark magic, okay? And they come through in this lifetime trying to rectify that. Sometimes I think about that as well, okay? So there's this, so it depends, right? But regardless, you incarnate into this life with a lot of this information, okay? A lot of spiritual information. So you've probably mastered it in a previous lifetime, okay? Oh, thank you, DJ. I'm so glad that all of that resonated. Yes, thank you. Yeah, yes, you guys, thank you. I'm gonna sign off now. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of the live, for your questions, for your likes, for your shares, for your subscribes. I hope you all have a beautiful day or an evening wherever you guys are. Yes, let's send vibes for an in-person meetup. I'll just have to think about how to create that and where to create it for all of us to meet. Thank you all. I hope you all have a beautiful one. Thank you. Bye.